this conference. It's our conference. The agenda of the conference should not come from CTL. It should come from all of us, because you are the ones involved in teaching and actual teaching and learning practice. So we should bring suggestions as to, for next year, for instance, let's focus on these areas and like that, so that we benefit from that. Of course, the idea is that we should talk about things that matters to us, and how we can engage. This must be a brainstorm. It must be a place where we brainstorm. It must be a place where we share ideas, and where we also get experts coming and then imparting into our sharpening our skills. That should be the place for that. And I'm very grateful for colleagues who have availed themselves when we made the call as to who wants to present a paper or do a presentation. Few people came forward and said that I will do that. Of course, it's our conference. We must do it ourselves. We will have a guest speaker. We appreciate those that we invite to come with the outside external views, but by and large, it's us. So welcome, enjoy yourself. I do look forward. I'm quite excited. I believe we will have a great time. As you know, it's a short conference. We start now, and 2 o'clock we are done. So let's really make use of that, and let's contribute. Now what I want to do is that with these few words, and as you have got your papers there, I hope everyone, all of you have registered and have got a folder. If you do not have a folder, then there is an empty one that you will take if your name is not on it. But all of us, please let us register just for the purposes of record keeping. So friends, I want to start us off. And as I said, we will try to redeem time that we can really do justice to all the speakers and presenters. I will first, just like us in the groups, now I am now struggling because I didn't realize we have so many tables. On the tables, you will see there is a booklet about what I want to call, let me rather say, the institutional values, shared values of an institution. So, and we have got quite a bit of them there. It's over 30 or around 30 values. But what I am suggesting is that, because we only want to spend like 10 minutes dealing with it, that we then give 2 values per table, and then you engage on the question that is there shortly on the question, maybe for 5 minutes, and then we do a little bit of feedback on that from few, not everyone, few of us will then give feedback, and the rest, hopefully, we will see from what we have written down, we will see what we are lacking. Now, the big issue, just as we are, as an icebreaker, is to ask the question, what are we missing about this specific value? Now, what we have done is that we have selected 10 values. Of course, there are too many, we will sit the whole day. So we want to concentrate on 10. What I will do is that I will allocate then the tables, these 10 values, and if then the rest will then repeat. So we only stick to the 10. We will not go to more than 10. And we thought these are the ones that speaks to us more as Cornerstone Institute. So the table 1, and now I call table 1. So let me then go around like that and start, or let me start that side and come down. Yeah, Stephen's table, I want to call table 1. If you could look at respect and student success, only those 2, and you ask yourself with that same question at Cornerstone, what are we missing about that 2 values? The second table, yeah, with Sharon, passion and integrity, only those 2, passion and integrity there, and then we reflect a little bit on what are we missing about that. Table 3, I go to Sean's table, it's empathy and professionalism, only those 2, what are we missing at Cornerstone? Come here to Leo Salomon's table, number 4, teamwork and accountability. Teamwork and accountability, and then table 5, at the back, yes, it's for unity and inclusivity. Unity and inclusivity, those are the 10 values. So I want to then repeat for these 2, it's good if we views table Narimans around there, that table. I'm not sure these are the 5 values. Which ones do you want to, which one speaks to you more? Otherwise, I will just give you, because I want to repeat again. Which do you want to take? Respect, student success, passion, integrity, empathy, professionalism, teamwork, accountability, unity, and inclusivity. Which one do you want to tackle? Okay, let me give you unity and inclusivity. What are we lacking about unity and inclusivity? Because I know the women will get good inputs about that. And the big table here in front, I want to give you to look at empathy and professionalism. What are we lacking about that at Cornerstone? Okay, so colleagues, please, let's take then like 5 minutes and just shortly brainstorm quickly and write down those stuff, and then we will then feedback few of you. I will ask to feedback on what you have written down there. Thank you. Let's talk.
Good morning, everyone. Me and my group, we only managed to talk about one value, which is unity. The unity, we think or we feel like we're missing unity in our organization, meaning that we don't have gatherings where we involve everyone in Cornerstone. Yes, we do it in our departments, but not as the organization. So we've got ideas, and then people were saying in our table that how about we make it compulsory that once or twice a year, when it's school break, that we'll meet, or having something that makes people like you have to attend. But then the issue was like, if we make it like that, then not everyone is here to unite. Then you will still get people who are attending, but being on their own, because it doesn't make sense for them to be here. So it should be something that people feel like I need to go because I need to unite. So what we conclude on is that maybe we should have something like where we set ourselves for failure, that even if you don't pitch up, but the pictures, the videos that are being posted, that are on LinkedIn, that are Facebook, makes you regret not coming to the thank you so much. That's what we can.
Thank you. Wow. Yes, please do.
Okay, so we had professionalism and unity. And initially, of course, your first response is to kind of say, oh no, we have so much empathy at Cornerstone. I haven't been there very long, but that we do. And but then we were also talking about how, you know, it makes me think of an Afrikaans expression that says, enigiets met 'n te vooraan is te veel. So anything that you can go too much is really not good. And so we were saying that Sean actually brought the point up that you can actually balance empathy and professionalism, because sometimes if we have too much empathy and we help our students too much, we're actually doing them a disservice, because in the real world, if you don't make a deadline, you're in trouble. And so that we do actually need to balance empathy with excellence and professionalism, saying, sorry, but there is a standard and you need to actually make that standard.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Can we get someone to talk on the issue of respect and student success? There was only one group, I guess. Yeah.
Hi everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. So we spoke about respect, and then one thing that we highlighted is that there's not really a policy regarding like around respect of like conduct, how students and like employees treat one another. So we said like that would be something that would be helpful, and also like how we're supposed to be conducting ourselves towards one another. And then also we mentioned about the respecting religious and cultures. Because something that came up is like with graduation that falls on the weekend, and there was like students that mentioned that it's a holy day for them. So like certain things being taken into consideration. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Beverly. Yeah, you could, but come here, and then we will ask the last group up after Beverly. Beverly, you can come here because they want to record from. Yeah. So and then the last group, prepare yourself. Whoever after Beverly, you could come for the last contribution. Thank you.
I'm like Nicola, I'm short. Can I do this? Okay. So just in terms of a policy regarding code of conduct and respect, we do have one. And I'm actually in the process of changing it so that the disciplinary part that goes with the code of conduct is in one document. So that's a positive. The second thing is, sorry, what was your second point?
Graduation.
Oh, good news. As of the next graduation, not this one, we will not be having graduation on a Saturday.
Hey.
So, some more good news. Just thought I'd mention that here since there's quite a large majority. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, the last group who wants to say the banning something. Okay, and then
Morning, everyone. We spoke about integrity and we pointed out that our integrity lies within the programs that we offer. So if we offer good quality programs and our way that we approach our teaching and learning project, that is very much where our integrity lies. Linking to that we need to be relevant for the times that we are living in, because we feel that Cornerstone has always stand for something. So what is our position when we talk about change the world? What really do we stand for through our education? Do we help people to live in an alternative way? Do we help them to really embark on this journey of reacting to social media, AI position where we find ourselves in, and also in the South African context. So our integrity is very much linked to the programs we're offering and the kind of education that we offer. And then we talked about passion, and our group are very passionate about teaching and say that they convey that to students. But we all feel a little bit that our passion is sometimes quenched through the overload of administration from the CHE side that we need to do constantly. So it's difficult to keep our passions alive amidst administrative tasks, and it would be great if we can find a balance or a way to rekindle the passion in ways together where we can be excited about what we're doing. Thanks.
thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for those who have said anything and also those who didn't. What I will suggest is if you could round off, I mean, whoever was the scribe, just finishing off your thoughts, the scribe alone, and then at the end, I think during the break, if I could collect all those inputs, and then I think we will then put it on paper. It's better if we could not just do it as an exercise, but really reflect on what you are saying. So we'll appreciate that. So please round that off. Now I want to invite, as we do start the conference, really for our Dean, Dr. Marianne Lloyd, to come and just open for us with some remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Before I get into what I want to say today, there's probably quite a few of you in this room that's not aware that we've lost a colleague in the last week, Dr. Dave Smith of the Theology and Ethics Department. So if we can maybe just have a few seconds of silence in memory of him, in gratitude for his contribution to the theology department, and of course in condolence with his family and friends and colleagues. Just a few moments, please, colleagues. Thank you. Then this morning, I want to remind you, since this is a teaching and learning conference, of the importance of what you all do on a weekly and a daily basis at 3 levels. The first one is at the level of higher education, the big picture. And I want to remind you how important education is, and getting qualifications that launch people out of poverty and into a new plateau in their life. For instance, getting a higher qualification, having higher education enhances employment opportunities. Individuals with tertiary qualifications have significantly lower unemployment rates compared to those with only a basic education. Economic benefits. Higher education contributes to better job prospects and higher earning potential. Social mobility. Tertiary education plays a crucial role in breaking the cycle of poverty because of the other factors that I'm talking about. Skill development. Higher education institutions equip students with critical skills needed in the job market. And of course, this does not only include the technical skills, but also life skills, communication, critical thinking, innovative skills, and so forth. And then community impact. Educated individuals are more likely to contribute positively to their communities. And of course, this is really part of our Cornerstone mission. And speaking about Cornerstone, our Cornerstone as our corner of the world, we are at a critical junction, a very important one in our lifespan, where we, with the Department of Higher Education and Training's proposed new structure of higher education institutional types, we want to, when that dispensation begins, we want to achieve university college status, as I've shared in other forums. And of course, we are working steadily towards ticking the necessary boxes to be able to do that. There's a lot of groundwork that's already been taking place for the last few years. But it will require that we very systematically plan what we do in teaching and learning, and how we deliver it, and also how we monitor student success, which is also a big thing in terms of achieving that particular goal. Our vision is, of course, to create an inclusive and impactful organization and graduates who can go forth and be ready for their workplaces and to bring about change in those workplaces. And then in terms of you specifically, the person, the educator, the specialist who's sitting here in front of me today, there's so many things in life that are really important, but just by way of their nature that's repetitive or that's consistent, we become blasé about them. You know, examples are, and I think we're reminded of this with Dave's death and so on, your health, time with your family and friends, your marriage, things like that, where you don't necessarily cherish them while you have them because they're just supposed to be there, and when you lose them, that's when you appreciate them in retrospect. And sometimes our jobs can also become like this. And I liked what Anne-Lene reported from her group, where people feel that sometimes the passion is lost, because that is what I'm talking about here. When you keep on doing the job, of course, because you're a professional, but you've lost a bit of your passion, you know, and they're asking for module outlines again, you know, boring, repetition, frustration. But amongst all of that, I want to remind you of what you are really busy with beyond the administration and the frustration. As Nelson Mandela said, which really is so well in sync with our own Learn to Change the World slogan. Nelson said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And I want you to remember that because you wield that weapon on a daily basis. You are really a superhero. On a daily basis, you are doing things that will affect people's lives beyond yourself and affect lives connecting to those lives. So it's an exponential effect. If the people who are studying with you as their guide, they go into a better place, then so do the people around them, the generations that come after them. So you are not just teaching or supervising, you are empowering people to go out and change the world, change makers. So I want to thank you for your hard work and your dedication in contributing to this vision and working towards what we all have in our hearts and what is our shared mission here. Thank you and enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Dr. Marianne Lowe, for these inspiring words to get us off at a good footing. What I will suggest is we have real good time, and what I will say is that let me then still a little bit engage you on what was said now and also what we have started with before we introduce our next speaker, and that is I want to start way back at the beginning that with this conference on standardization and customization, the idea that we have, and I do not want us to lose that, is that first we want to talk about what are the standards that we are aspiring to, standards we have, and that I think we'll explore more by the type of policies, the teaching and learning policies that we have, that Ilana will a little bit ventilate for us later. So that's one hand. But also on the other side, we want to be known, as we say, as an institution of social justice, as an institution of empathy, the word that we now use, and that come alongside our students and are really having a bottom-up approach to education and are coming alongside students to help them that they can succeed. So with these two, that's why also we talk about customization. And one of the big things that I believe Sisibo later will talk to us about is also that as Cornerstone, all of us are really a marketing, we ourselves are a strategy that Cornerstone must use to market itself. So it's not only one segment or one department that does it, but how we lecture, for instance, will draw people to the place, because our students will talk about that and so lecturer to be in his class, really, and that's the way how we promote, how we do research, and what we put out in journals, and like the people will read about it and say, oh, it's a lecturer or it's an administrator from Cornerstone, and that's also how we are marketing the place. So we want to really broaden the scope to say that let's see ourselves also as tools that are promoting, and what we are doing, what we are saying in the public really does matter to what Cornerstone will become. And those are issues that we want to really live with you and to engage with, that we reflect upon those type of issues. So that's it, and that's really what we are aiming with the conference, and that's what we will be. So I want to just a little bit go back to what was said, because we've got a bit of time, that we can still a little bit reflect on few of the issues. And one, again, back to the idea about shared values that we have not put out many, but as you know, we have got 5 values or like that for Cornerstone that we want to really left out. But values are things that should not only be on paper, it should also not only be things that we talk about, but how we left them. I think the practical side of us infleshing them in our daily living, how we relate to each other, and whether we really to believe in what we are saying on paper. I think that's a big challenge. And the question of what are we missing, I think we must also reflect that same question about the 6 values or like that we have as Cornerstone. That's really very much important that we should say. So knowing that we have a bit of a time, a few minutes, I still want to engage you on that one. That we little bit open up also on what our executive dean has said about the appreciation for what you are doing, but also what we want to achieve as the institution towards becoming a full-blown university. And like that, I think we need to have a lot of stepping stones towards, stepping blocks towards that. So I want to just invite you, because that it shouldn't be a monologue. We are not standing here and preaching down or talking down to you. We have to engage. So before I invite Ilana, I want to ask and open if you want to say, because I was too quick to just rush us through the values or even what you have heard now. If you want to reflect on it, please let me invite you before I start, that we get also input from you. Whatever we have said and you want to add to that, kindly please do so. So let me just hear before we continue, is there anyone, because you have been prompted by what we have said so far, or you thought this point was not mentioned and we have really said a good thing when we're dealing with the values? I also want to give you that chance. Okay, Leo, please do. And then after that, we will then invite Ilana to come forward. Leo, come. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. So we were tasked to look at the issue of teamwork at Cornerstone, and our assessment was that there is a great sense of teamwork in individual departments and units, but we had our misgivings when it comes to the interdepartmental coordination of work, where we seem to be working in silos. There isn't much smooth coordination across departments. Yes, the sense of teamwork is great, as we discussed with my colleagues, but there's still room for improvement. We are a great team, as the whole institution, but there is a lot of room for improvement as far as working together. And part of the challenge has to do with the work from home policy, where we hardly sometimes see each other. That kills a good sense of teamwork, because we hardly interact face to face. But we hope that with the new work from home policy, the revised work from home policy, we will have more opportunities to work with each other closely. So basically, that's our take on the issue of teamwork. As far as accountability is concerned, we discovered that actually there's a lot of accountability at an individual level. We all have our line of duty, with our job descriptions. But when it comes to overall accountability, we probably falling short in terms of our accountability to the education fraternity, as far as provision of inclusive education, I don't think, with the challenges that we're facing as Cornerstone Institute, we have actually, lived up to our expectations, but we are trying, and, there's great hope that we will be able to provide education, especially for those who are facing financial exclusion, those who face other challenges that, continue to be a hindrance to access to education. So basically, that's the accountability challenges that we face at that, a broader level. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I want to invite now Ilana to come and talk to us on the standards that we have in the quality assurance, especially around our policies. Because at the end of the day, what must direct what we do should be what we ascribe to. And I think knowing policies is quite important for us so that we can be effective in what we want to do. So Ilana, please come and share with us a little bit about what are these type of policies that we should adhere to. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It seems that one of the standards and policies that's left behind is, it seems I am a little bit technologically challenged. But while we get ready for that, I have two disclaimers to make. The first disclaimer is, if you consider yourself a serious academic, this session will be a test of resilience and patience for you, because I'm not an academic. At heart, maybe I am, but I'm of nature practical. So for those of you who are serious academics looking for big words and fancy things, I'm testing your resilience and patience today. So I see that as your development goal of this session. For those of you who are semi-academics but still have a foot in the world, I might tickle your funny bone sometimes, so enjoy that. If you are not an academic and one of the often forgotten administrators working and slogging and doing admin work, you might actually enjoy this session. So that's my one disclaimer. My other disclaimer is, if we are looking for specifics, the bigger, unfortunately 40 minutes won't allow us to go into specifics that much. And also, it has a big board, which I didn't have time to make. It's a work in progress currently. So it's like that website where you get under construction, it's under construction. So, but I do want to share quite a bit, because I seem to have drawn the short straw in terms of quality assurance and policies, which is something that people don't normally feel passionate and excited about. But I do think there's a way that I might be able to change your mind a little bit about it, but that certainly is my goal that I'm going to try and achieve. So first of all, I'm so glad that you were provided with paper and pens. I'm going to do a small little exercise to just get our brains into gear for what I'm trying to do. Let me just put down my, what do they call it, Red Riding Hood basket. So first of all, I'm going to give you just 3 words. And then you just write down positive, negative of the 3 words. 1, 2, 3, positive, negative, or some kind of a shorthand, or if you are really well functioning this time of the morning, you can just remember. So the first word is airplane. The second word is person. And the third word is spider. I think in and of themselves, you will find if you look and use your reflection on those words and the meaning of the typically ascribed to those words are meaning that we give to the words and the connotation that we give to the words. How many of you felt positive about airplanes? Is there somebody who felt negative about airplanes? Let's look at the other word, person. Positive? Negative? And let's look at spider. Negative, I would presume, probably more than positive, but positive and negative. If you look at those three words, and I'm not a language expert in any way, but there is a personal perception that we ascribe to those words because of some kind of event that occurred in our lives. Now, if you're wondering where I'm going with this with quality assurance, the word quality assurance, how many of us feel positive about it? And how many of us feel negative about it? In and of itself, it is actually a neutral term. It doesn't have a negative and a positive to it. So what I'm trying to do today is I just want to challenge you a little bit on how we view it. Because the thing is, for most of us, quality assurance is something that has to be done extra, in addition to, extra admin, and it equates to more work in most people's perception. But how many of us actually have a class, and when you drive home, you think of how the class went? You do. Say, it was a nice class, it was a terrible class, I had engagement, I didn't have engagement, what I planned didn't work out. That's a form of quality assurance because you're reflecting on what you did and the effect it had. The only problem with quality assurance comes when we need to write those things down because we often don't capture those moments. And the challenge then lies, which is something Nene touched on, the challenge in that lies in finding ways, because we're already reflecting, we're already doing some of the quality assurance work, on a way to capture those moments. Because the idea for the CHE put forward this lovely word of reflexive praxis, which I like, because that suits my temperament. But we all have a nature of, and I often call them postmortems, maybe wrongly so, we all have these meetings after an event to say, how did it go? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And the important thing about reflecting on it and saying whether we've done well or not well, that is part of quality assurance. And obviously, if we said this was horrible, we're not going to do it the same the next time, are we? We're going to change it, which is improvement, which is also an aspect of quality assurance. So we just need to think differently about, we do it anyway, but we need to find creative ways of capturing those moments, capturing that information so that we can give that information to a compliance body or share that information with our colleagues so that we can learn from each other and improve. Or maybe in some cases, because quality assurance we often think is about something that we need to be improved. Sometimes it's to say, yay, that colleague did something really well, we could learn from it. We could actually use that. Thank you for the good idea. Thank you for the inspiration. And I think the fear is often with, and one of the words of the day is on the program is standardization. I think the problem is with standardization and with the little bit that I understand about academics is we often fear that it's going to take away our creativity and our way of doing our thing in our way, of getting us, it's taking away your personality. Don't want to go to academic freedom because there's all kind of connotations and stuff about that, so I don't want to go there. But it's going to take something of what I give to the class, what I bring in my own way. And it's not about that. Now, I think I've preached long enough now, so I need 5 volunteers. I'm going to army volunteer Beverly. She wants to sit in front. Let's take Marianne. I'll also army volunteer you. Mareike. Sharon. Who's and Leo. If you don't want to come fast, I'm going to army volunteer people. Can you please come to the front, please? Now, I want you to imagine, you're not going to do difficult stuff, so don't worry, don't be stressed. Leo? Don't be like those students in the class, please. So I want you to imagine, I am the lecturer now, which is not hard to imagine because I'm holding the mic. And each of these ones are now receiving what I am giving in the class. Okay. So for the purpose of the exercise, there are some standardization required. Everybody received a box, which would be your module outlines, your way that you brand things, that would be your Cornerstone thing, that would be the way that you write up your assessments, those kind of things that are similar. Right? Not really right if you look carefully. It's supposed to be that way. There's one of those boxes that are broken. So if you don't do it the right way, there's obviously some consequences. Your module outline doesn't look like the rest. So standardization, we can't compare. Well, we can, and we can say improvement plan for you. But now the other thing about it is, because we have students in our classes, whatever we give them, they receive also in a certain context and a certain they bring with them. In terms of quality assurance, so that's important that we get that feedback as well. Can I take this thing off the one guy going to mess up logistics here? So each of you will have received a box. Now, the only place that I'm going to put you on the spot is tell people what's in your box and how you feel about it. And do you think you can use it?
I got a box of panda bear stickers, and I feel that they are very, very cute. I may not use them personally, but I would certainly give them to my daughter.
Beverly? You'll have to come closer.
My box has these very pretty, shiny flowers, and if you look at my finger, I recently got engaged. So when these flowers to me, I was like, oh, maybe I could use it for my wedding.
Morning everyone, my box is broken and I've got rubber bands, and when I look at rubber bands, I think of the resilience that we need to have when we work with students, being a student and being a lecturer.
Hi everyone, so mine is colorful glitter glue sticks almost that you can use to decorate. So for me, this is being creative, creating something that you would like in color maybe. I was someone like that when I studied, everything was in color. So yeah, really using this for creativity.
I gave you the difficult one.
Yes, I'm actually trying to find words for some of the things, because, but I'll try as much as I can. There's a cat, right? A house, a star, a windmill, and many other artifacts, and putting something that looks like a giraffe, and a car, right?
Lots of resources.
Yeah, lots of resources. I'll probably use this as an illustration of creativity, because there's a lot of handwork that went into this. And also, I'm also in the habit of giving my students, tokens of appreciation. So these will be the medals that I will distribute to the exceptional students.
Thank you. Thank you, volunteers. You can take a seat. I think what I'm trying to say is quality assurance has certain standards. We have certain standards that we have to uphold to. It's important that we get our students feedback, because even though they get the same information, they might not necessarily take the same thing home, depending on where they are at, where they are in the process. So it's very important that we engage them as part of our quality assurance, because that's from what the little bit I've learned is we often say we do student surveys, and that's normally tick box, it's done. And sometimes we need a little bit more of how our students can contribute, because they can actually learn us stuff that we can put in our toolboxes. This is the other reason I like boxes, because I like tools. Tools in many ways. I collect theories, things that work, things that I like. So in terms of knowledge, I like to collect little bits and pieces here and there from all kinds of disciplines. Now, to get back to, I kicked your basket. Luckily, it's not a bucket, so I'm still okay. If I get back to the more serious part, where we look at quality assurance, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, is something that Peter Drucker said. Now, there's many ways of measurement. We've come very far in terms of measuring things. We don't always measure them in 1, 2, 10%, 20%. We can measure them in different ways. So we need to think about ways that we could measure and capture those moments and events that could really contribute to giving a positive view, or getting an overview, an oversight of where we are and how we are doing and where we want to go. Because I think part of quality assurance is always not necessarily being compliant, which is often where people put it. It's for accreditation purposes and keeping your accreditation. But it is really about adding and contributing value to the students and making sure that we are sending people out there who are world changers, because we say we want people to learn to change the world. So that's what it's about. And quality assurance would then be to look at, are we producing students who are changing the world? Are we producing lecturers that are changing the world? Or what are we producing? Because if you were a car manufacturer,
and that's really easy. You can easily say whether the car is doing well or not, and what components are working or not. If you turn the key and the car doesn't start, something's not working. So it's easy. The quality problem is there at the starter or the distributor or whatever the case might be. Let me not just limit that example to the little I know about cars. So you would know where the problem is. With service delivery, or where you actually are building into people's lives, it's a little bit more complicated to really see if you can actually contribute in changing them. And I think one of the things that I really want to strongly emphasize, although standardization is one thing, is we shouldn't lose sight of we as people contribute to other people's lives in a way, and hopefully positively, and sometimes negatively, and we have to reflect in terms of quality assurance on that as well. Because that also contributes when we work with students, when we work with staff. It is also something that needs to be of a good quality and something that can be improved. As we heard, there's good teamwork in departments, but something that's lacking in some ways are working together as a whole organization. So why quality assurance? Why do we do this? I think we've dealt with a lot of it, but I'll quickly just browse through it. It's to ensure product and service quality. It is to actually save time and money, because we need to make sure that all the boxes are the same, and if all the boxes are the same, we can automate it. If one person has a square box, one person has a round box, one person doesn't have a box, you can't automate it. So you can't use tools to your advantage. Also, if they are different shapes, how on earth are you going to compare them in some way that makes sense? So in that sense, it saves time and money. It boosts customer, which should have been more likely student confidence in what we are producing, also in terms of producing towards where our students are going to, where they are. It enhances the reputation. It ensures compliance, which certainly we can't get away from. We do have parameters that we need to work within. And it improves efficiency, because you can utilize certain technologies and tools and processes to ease your life quite a bit. Now, what is the purpose of this standardization thing? It is actually to ensure consistency. Consistency so that we make sure, even though what's in the box is not necessarily what the student take out, we must make sure that we give each student the opportunity to learn, the opportunity to fill their box with tools. Because it might not be the same what they get out exactly, but they must get something out. And we need to be sure. And how do you do that? And that's all the evil words that you don't normally like. It's by standardizing processes, because that could take time away. It's by quality control systems to make sure that we have those. It's by employee training, so that we know that if we say this is the module outline, that everybody knows how it looks like and what the look, feel, and needs are. Also in terms of, we spoke about the one group, they spoke about respect and policies and stuff, and code of conduct. It's to know how to do those things, and then to get student feedback so that we know that we're on the right path. And then obviously, and it's something that I am now learning, and I won't go too far into that, because I'm currently assimilating knowledge in the business area, and I'm sure we have a lot of experts there, as something like about continuous improvement. My recent venture into knowledge is into when I look at quality systems, as total quality management, Kaizen, all those kind of things, and lean principles. I'm sure I won't bore you with all of this stuff, but that's my recent assimilation of knowledge. So I'm looking into that specifically and how we can utilize those principles in a way that makes sense in our education without taking away the learning experience, without taking the engagement with the students. Is there ways that we can use quality enhancement and assurance to actually better a student's experience and also ours? And in terms of quality management, and I'm going to skim past it because I don't think you need to know the ins and outs, as we do have systems that we are trying to look at. And that is one of my roles, is to look at systems to make your life easier in terms of quality assurance, that we get it done. So there's various theories about what exactly the words are in that circle. But it basically boils down to, you need to figure out what needs to change, if anything. You need to have a design and development, implementation phase, feedback and improvement. The one that I often find that's lacking in Cornerstone is the documentation and reporting. The other stuff happens. We do improve all the time. And then the review and the audit thereof, which is when we need to report to outside bodies and also look at where we've come as an institution. So I do find that's a positive thing for me, is we are a bunch of reflective people. I've sat in various committees, various areas. I'm privileged to have seen a lot of things in Cornerstone, and we do reflect. It's not something that's new to us. We look at things and how to improve. We always want to get something right. So the one part that we need to work on and work towards is documentation and reporting on those stuff and putting it out there, because also that is a valuable tool to build our brand. So in terms of quality assurance, I have come up with a novel idea, which I'm still working towards, because we say we want to improve people, practices, technology and tools. Now I'm still learning the tools, so I'm going old school for now with it. But I'm going to actually put a basket somewhere at the back, probably there at the entrance. And there's some paper in the basket. And I want to challenge you to think about at least one thing. I wanted you to think initially of 5, but I'll limit it to 1. And now you can't get extension for the exercise. Just think of one thing that's either positive or negative that could be improved or is going well. And just jot it down and put it in the basket. I am thinking of, and I'm busy researching and looking at it, there are 2 things that I'm looking at. The first thing I'm looking at is having a digital version of this, so people can just, as an idea pop in your head, this needs to be improved, that you can put it on your PC or your phone and just send me the document. I'm busy working on that. If anybody have a cool idea of how I can do that well, please talk to me offline, that's the right word. And I would, because I think that would be cooler than using physical pencil and paper, although I'm a big pencil and paper fan, but then it's in one space and then I can work with it. The other thing that I'm working on, which is slightly hijacking this space for something else, is I want us to come up more with ideas in terms of things, and maybe it borders on this in terms of quality assurance, but for programs, ideas for wellness, ideas for things. So what I'm going to do is I am going to work on an idea board. There will be a digital version and a physical version of it. And then you just jot down, as you think of an idea, you send me the idea. And we can either work with a concept, we can meet and those kind of things. Because I think one of the most important things for us in terms of specifically continuous improvement is that we come up, it gets to be a habit. Seeing things, hearing things, being in the moment, seeing oh, this needs to be fixed, put it down, send it along. Because I think we come up with great ideas and sometimes we forget about them and then they never get used. So that's one of those things that I would like us to really work towards implementing and finding ways and creative ways. Because quality assurance, even though I might be coordinating the function, is actually the function of all of us. It's not a person's function. It's a culture of continuous improvement. It must become a habit. And sometimes for something to become a habit, we must put in some work for it to become a habit. But that's what I'm striving towards, and that's where my passion lies, and that's where it joins up with quality assurance, with continuous improvement, learning culture, those kind of things. That's my passion, where I'm at. So that's in terms of the quality assurance part. Now I get to the part which Martin mentioned on the policies. Now the sad part about the policies is I can't really, or I don't want to give you old content. We are currently in the process of reviewing all of our academic policies and making sure that they align, because I'm sure if you've been an avid reader of policies, I don't know how many of those people there are, I can certainly put up my hand and say I'm not an avid reader of policies. I don't particularly find that reading quite as interesting as other reading. As part of my job, I have to be, but I wouldn't read them for fun, though. Normally, people read policies if they want to fight something. That we found. But they are all under construction. So rather than me giving you policies and things that are outdated, I would rather make time when they are done that we work through them. But I have some ideas that I want to share with you about the academic policies and about where we are going, and giving you an idea of where we see this moving towards. Now, I've interrupted my thought to say, if you're an avid policy reader, you would have found that in some of our policies there are inconsistencies. So we're working very hard to get all of those policies aligned. We're trying to merge policies actually to ensure that you go to one reference document instead of 10 referring to the same thing, and that there's one central concept or idea, one procedure that needs to be followed, put out in a policy, instead of it occurring in 10 different places and 10 different interpretations. Because some of our policies are really old. Some of them we discover daily that we really didn't know we had them, but they are somewhere, and we find them and we work them into the new policies. So that really is a process that will take a while to get done. We're almost done with the biggest, one of the biggest. I think teaching and learning will probably be the other biggest, but the one that probably would be closest to most of you is the assessment policy. We're almost done with that one, and with all of its addendums and things. So that will probably be the first one that we will circulate for approval and comments and those kind of things. So the idea is that we will have within faculty a policy log that's available that will tell you these are the policies we have, this is where they are at currently, this is when they need to be reviewed, and any other pertinent information about those policies, so that we ensure that we review them regularly, and that we are sure that when we onboard somebody, that we actually all know what is out there. Because it's difficult when you work with a list of policies. Like I don't know how many have access to the current policy repository, but if you work with a policy repository, you will see there are lists and lists and lists and lists of policies. It's very difficult to get an overview of it. So a log would help us to keep track of all of our policies better and to ensure. There were logs, but they somehow got outdated along the line. So we want to be sure that we do that right. So we're currently busy with a policy review and the merging of all policies, and also obviously updating our policies for the new environment with AI and all those kind of things included, and also to way that we are heading in terms of postgraduate research and those kind of things, where we're looking at new programs, postgraduate programs, to ensure that we have policies that speak to research and those kind of things. So we are busy looking at those. The idea would be that they are centrally available, so that if you need to access them, that you would have access to any of the policies and that you would be able to work through them. Now, I'm not going to ask the question here, but I just want to, the reality is a lot of us don't even know the policies that exist, and we don't like reading policies. So what we are going to do is try in the most funnest way possible, if it's possible, to create awareness about the policies once they are approved, and to create palatable versions. In other words, we're not changing the policy, we're just breaking it down into bite-sized bits that we can kind of grasp and make available here and there, maybe in an email, maybe in a session, or maybe somewhere where it's just a little bit more palatable for most of us who don't like to sit down and read thesis-like documents with rules and regulations and all kinds of things. So that would make it easier for us to be aware of what's in the policies and to be able to actually use them. And it's also become a very valuable tool when we onboard members, new members of staff, so that they know what we're about and what we do and how we do things. Because I think it could be very overwhelming coming into an organization and not knowing the things that you need to know. Especially if you're a new lecturer, I would say. It's difficult to know if you don't have, and one of the things we've started with, which you will hear later about, is the lecturer's toolkit, which is one of those things that we are trying to actually help people to come to the same standard and to have those tools that they need at hand available to help them and assist them to work, do the things well that they need to do. So that, in a nutshell, was me and the policies and the quality assurance. I think I almost are very hesitant to say if there's any questions. I will, but I'll give you opportunity to ask some questions. I do think we still have time. If I can answer them, I will. If not, I'll find out for you and give you the answer. As most of you know, I am relatively new in this position, so I might not know everything. Well, I do know that one of the things that my studies learned me is that I don't know everything, and it's okay. They say that's one of the most important lessons that you learn in postgraduate studies, to know that you don't know anything and everything. Because we all think we know everything. I'm not at the level yet, I'm not a doctor yet, so can't say I know everything of something. So, but I know a lot of things about many different things. Any questions? Tilani, yes?
Mine's not really a question, it's more a request. So when we built the staff portal, there is a section there for policies, and we have requested for these policies. So my request is that once it's been approved, it be sent to my team, because the idea of the portal is actually to have that central place and make things easy to access. So I can count the number of policies that we have, and I think these were mostly because of issues. So I have a disciplinary policy, leave policy, so whenever there's an issue, policy. But yeah, my request is that once
Yeah, that would be a good home for them, I would suppose, because that's already available to all of staff. So I think that's a good request. Thank you. We'll do that. Yes.
I was thinking, because you were talking about a fun way to get the policies read, because, like you said, people read it when they're looking for, an argument. So I think, those books that used to come out, those concepts that people generally struggle with. So there were those books, so and so for dummies. So you should have a booklet in cartoon version of all the policies, and then maybe that would be a lot more fun way to acquaint oneself with what the policies are. And then I was thinking about the other thing you were saying about making quality assurance a continuous thing. So I'm sure that there are staff meetings in every department and faculty, and so maybe at the end in the any other business, you could go and ask the question that could be fed back to you in terms of any ideas or thoughts that have come up in that area, in that department, and feed it directly to you perhaps.
That's two awesome ideas. I think if we can make that a habit in our meetings to always reflect on. And also, the good thing about meetings these days, if you have them online, is you have record and transcribe and those things. And I often see more meet geeks and note geeks attending meetings than people, but you have those things which you can actually then use to actually just copy and paste the idea and send it along, which is great. And I think yes, certainly we can do a policy for dummies, but I think we won't call it that. Because I don't think anybody would like to be called a dummy, but certainly those books have really, I think, have been helpful if you want a quick view. And if we can do something in that way, where it's just the bite-sized almost concepts just taken out and unpacked a little bit so that I think that's a very good idea. And I'm thinking here already, rise and articulate and all kinds of things which we can use to do something like that. So we might actually do a fun project like that. It certainly sounds very exciting, so thank you for that feedback. Yes, Deirdre.
Thank you. Thank you, Ilana. It was quite an informative session. I just want to maybe add to what you're saying in terms of the importance of policies when it comes to quality assurance, because quality assurance can't happen without policies. So perhaps it's a good idea that we get used to reading the policies. And I think it's also a very good idea to bring it out in a very bite-sized fashion and bring it in the comic way that she explained would help a lot in that regard. But on the other hand, juxtapositioning the two next to each other, we also need that academic concepts and understanding in our policies because it aligns with the CHE and the DHET. So that we have those two, the comic, and we have the one really with those words that you described that people don't want to read, but that is important for academic purposes in terms of the DHET, etc., etc.
Yes, that's certainly a very great comment, and I'm glad you made it. As the comic version or the fun version would be for our training purposes. Obviously, the document that we would present would be in academic proper language as the CHE requires, with the standard, the format, the whole 9 yards. It's just if we present policies in a way to our staff that are in that way, often they don't get read until you have an issue. I normally get, you don't worry about the policy until the issue comes up, and that's really when it's too late already. You should have had the knowledge of the policy, so that's just a tool. So, but it is important to note that we do need to adhere to compliance procedures in terms of our policies as well, and that the policies do feed into quality assurance. You can't have the two things. It's not really separate. It's part of your in quality assurance, we talk about people, tools, technologies, and processes. It's part of your process. That's very important. That can't be ignored. All right, I've received communication that I am supposed to be done. So thank you very much. Thank you. And yeah, if there's somebody that would like to pop me an email, just pop me an email. If there's something that you would like to contribute or other questions, just ask. Thank you.
Well, colleagues, after the next session, then we will have a little bit of refreshments and like that. So please, let's just hold on for one more session, and then we will have something to refresh us. I do not want to spend much time here. We are really privileged to have a great expert in our midst, Dr. Shirley Lloyd, and Leo has been working with her in some of his critical dialogues. So I want him just to come and shortly introduce her and then invite her to the podium. Leo, please.
Maybe you can put it also there for her. Thanks, Martin. I'll just hold it. I've tried to take a break from podiums this semester, but it seems, there's a calling for me to appear on podiums. And most of you, especially those who have been following the critical dialogues, are quite familiar with Dr. Lloyd, Dr. Shirley Lloyd, and her work within the education fraternity. I will try to do justice to introduce here. Dr. Lloyd Shepherd, sorry, not Lloyd Shepherd, I know another Lloyd Shepherd, my apologies, Doc. Dr. Shirley Lloyd described herself as an educator, activist, and social entrepreneur. She retired from the position of director of the NQF directorate in the DHET, and in her career she worked with various entities, including but not limited to the SADC Secretariat, the United Nations, the European Union, the Tanzanian Council on Higher Education, the Botswana Qualifications Authority, just to mention a few. Dr. Shirley Lloyd also has published articles on education and has supervised master's and doctoral students, and she believes in remaining active in the education fraternity, applying the principles of Tumamina and Ubuntu. And this is why we still have Dr. Shirley Lloyd with us here, sharing her expertise on education. And today, Dr. Shirley Lloyd will present on the future-focused curricula and artificial intelligence and assessment. As we all know, the world we find ourselves today is dynamic. Technology is changing, and we need to understand, or rather have some kind of understanding of what our curriculum will look like in future, given all these changes. The socioeconomic environment is changing as well. So please allow me to introduce Dr. Shirley Lloyd to the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nana. I can shepherd you very well as I socialize you in various policies and directions, etc. Picking up just very briefly before I get into this on the policy issue. Yes, one of the things I had to do in my career, I used to be a teacher, a simple English teacher, and I loved it. I was a chief examiner for matric English for a number of years, but that was my world and I loved it, and I moved into the TVET space. And there I was in one of the wonderful colleges, became a head of department, and then I was seconded to be an inspector of education. And that's where my policy journey began. So I do read
a lot of policies, or I did read a lot of policies, write them, present them for a living. And it is what you said there. So if you animate them and use artificial intelligence, it becomes quite fun because you can put all kinds of funny pictures and characters, etc. But I ended up my career in the Department of Higher Education and Training. And when the SAQA Act was replaced by the NQF Act, there had never been an NQF directorate before in the department. Now remember, it was Department of Education, then the SAQA Act changed, and at the same time with the first Zuma administration, he divided the Department of Education and it became Department of Basic Education and the Department of Higher Education and Training. I worked in Higher Ed and Training, and they'd never yet before had an NQF directorate. In fact, they probably wouldn't have wanted it there if they had a choice, but okay. So one of the acts, the NQF Act, that the minister has overall executive responsibility for, one of the very few acts that requires the minister actually to be the boss. Usually the DG or the head of the department is the boss. In this act, it says the minister has overall executive responsibility for the NQF, for SAQA, the quality councils, etc. And I found myself in a very strange place. Talk about DHEC, talk about CHE, talk about the quality councils, SAQA, and the different branches in DHEC, university branch, which deals with all the universities and the PQMs and that sort of thing. And I used to go to senior management meetings and sit there and at that stage, I had 4 very big things I had to do. The one was the minister wanted the RPL policy written. He also wanted his articulation policy written. He also wanted a very big research project done on evaluating the implementation of the NQF Act over a period of time. And then he wanted to deal with fraudulent qualifications, misrepresentation, all of those good things. So he wanted the NQF Act to be amended. So those were my 4 big jobs that I had to do. And you know the targets that are put there, and you've got APPs, that's annual performance plans, and all of those good things. And I was amazed with these big things because the NQF Act says that the NQF in South Africa, and it was a very deliberate decision in 1994, pre-94, when we were moving into a new administration, that an NQF, a SAQA, articulation, recognition of prior learning would be part of the foundation of the new vision for education and training in South Africa. So that is why it was so important. And don't worry, it does weave back into this. But what you said about the policy. So there I found myself in this department, which really should be fully cognizant of all of those things, NQF, etc. And they were not. In fact, they disliked the NQF and everything about it. And that dislike transferred to the person somehow. So whoever was like that poor person was like, so in senior management meetings, when you're wanting to bring big issues, for example, now we've got to go to the DG's forum or the cabinet or to parliament, portfolio committee, with this draft replacement of the NQF Act or amendment of it. And I need a point on the agenda. I need 20 minutes on the agenda. Okay, 15, I'll be brief. And just to tell you what are the highlights and to get input, and you can send. And it was like we'd go through the whole meeting, and the DG at the time would say, Lloyd, he called me Lloyd, even though I was either Dr. Lloyd or Shirley. I was happy with any, but I wasn't Lloyd. And he would say, Lloyd, sorry, we don't have time today for the NQF. Do we have time, colleagues? And everyone would laugh. No, we don't have time for the NQF. Then we changed ministers, and Dr. Naledi Panda became the minister. And if anybody's ever worked with her, that's working with excellence. And she's focused, etc. And so she then sent her chief of staff to the senior management meetings. And this chief of staff picked up that Lloyd was always given a chance, and then when it was Lloyd's turn, sorry, we don't have time, and who's interested in the NQF today? So she went back and told Dr. Pandor, and Dr. Pandor then called me in with the Chief of Staff. She said, she's going with you to the next meeting. The next meeting, no nonsense. So what happened in the next meeting, Chief of Staff said to me, when DG calls you Lloyd, you put up your hand and you say very carefully, DG, I'm either Shirley or Dr. Lloyd, but I'm not Lloyd. And if DG then says right at the end, okay, you've got 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute to present, that's fine. All you do is that. So that day was the final bite of the apple that the department had before off we trotted into the sunset, Portfolio Committee, Parliament, and NCOP with this thing. And again, left right to the end, and then again, Lloyd. I put up my hand, I said, DG, please, I'm either Shirley or I'm Dr. Lloyd, as you would call any of the other colleagues. I'm not Lloyd. And I saw Chief of Staff look, and the DG was like breathless. He says, well, you've got 2 minutes. And then he took half of the first minute. Now you must know I've got to present to them what this thing is that's going to be amended in the NQF Act, which is going to, the thing that the President proclaimed last year about fraudulent, that work. It's massive work. Now I've got 1.5 minutes. So I thought, okay, what do I do? So in 1.5 minutes, I trotted through it all, the headings, boom, boom, boom. And I sat and looked. He said, have you finished? I said, yes. You took half of my first minute, so 1.5 minutes, there you go. That's it. And he didn't know what to do. So so then I said to him, but DG, I have got a gift for every single one of you. And I had put in, it was quite an exercise, every single act, policy, regulation, communication that related to the department, to SAQA, and the 3 QCs, and I put them on a CD. And you could go in at any point, and if you were looking for joint communique one of whatever, there you could go in, and there was communique, have a look, etc. And we'd done it in such a way that we socialized them around that. And so that they could find some fun in the dreary, horrible NQF, which we hope they did, and get to know what they had to work with every day. So I have deep appreciation for what you were saying. And I've also tried in looking at this, and I've slightly changed the approach. So when we talk about future-focused curricula, AI, and assessment, it's a changing world, and it's a very different world. So I've taken the stance of looking at work currently being done in sort of the global space, and some of the debates which are affecting a lot of what happens in the NQF world, in the qualifications, the level descriptors, the discourses around the table about how do we respond to this global thing that is happening. So I've taken the first thing, a global north and a global south view, the theory, southern theory, northern theory. Because what is emerging more and more and more in the world of education, training, NQF, quality council, CHE, institutional types, how you write a qualification, institutional responsibility and accreditation, no more program accreditation, all of those good things. That a lot of it, and we subconsciously have accepted that, a lot of it is driven through what we call the global north approach or theory. And yet we are very much global south. And I've just taken a few chunks, and I mean, this is fascinating. You talk about finding information and reading. I'll hear something somewhere, and it will just fascinate me. And I don't hear the rest, because my brain's going around that thing. And recently, I had the privilege of being an internal examiner for a doctoral student. And you might know that I chair the Association of Private Providers of Education, Training, Development, APET, of which Cornerstone is a member. And so we are having another town hall on the 22nd of October, and I've invited this gentleman who's going to get his doctorate in end of October to come and talk on the communiversity. And I read this document. If you are an academic and a serious researcher, and you often supervise masters and doctoral students, etc., and this thesis lands on your table, it's going to freak you out a bit. Because chapter 1, you're supposed to have and ontology and epistemology and axiology and your problem statement and all of that. Well, it emerged through the narrative. He did it as an integral study. And I became totally fascinated with this. And part of what he was writing about was the global north, global south, and how we deal in the global south and what the philosophy and underpinning things are towards each other. That's why I was very interested in listening to what was happening when I came in, and towards our students. And one of my doctoral students that I'm supervising at the moment is writing her thesis on this whole thing of student evaluation of the lecturing staff, teaching and learning, and the impacts and the biases that come through, depending on context and culture, and how that evolves. So part of curriculum in this whole new world we are in, we are starting to recognize this very thing, that the culture turn in social theory has raised interest in how culture and context shapes knowledge and behavior. What knowledge are we putting into our curricula? Are we starting to enable indigenous knowledge? Are we decolonizing the curriculum? Because that's very much the global north, global south thing as well. So that is a fascinating concept happening in global discourses at the UNESCO levels, United Nations levels, African continental qualification framework, all of those. Have we been fair? Have we sufficiently heard that voice? So that's the first thing I want to say. And remember, the other thing I just want to say before I go on, when a qualification is finally registered on the National Qualifications Framework, SAQA is the only organization that can register a qualification. They receive a recommendation from the all-powerful and mighty CHE. The CHE cannot register anything. They'd love to. Neither can the QCTO, and neither can Umalusi. I think it deeply frustrates them. But that's how it is. So all they can do is recommend. And when SAQA looks at that qualification before they prepare, because it's a national qualification, it's our national standard, etc. Before they do that, they have a look at a whole lot of things. And one of the things that they look at is, does this meet the level descriptor? What does that level descriptor say, which is global north, global south type of issues emerging now? So SAQA is looking at this and saying, can we really register this? And then often the CHE or QCGO or whatever, they don't do what the policy of SAQA says. And then when they confront it, they say, are we really supposed to read all those policies? Yes, you are. If you're working in that space, yes, you are. But you can make it fun. Use artificial intelligence. Cartoon it, caricatures. You can give people, or different elements, you can give them little avatars. You can do all kinds of weird and wonderful things, and those policies can start really living in it. It won't be a Game of Thrones kind of thing, although sometimes we want to really take a sword. I never watched Game of Thrones. It was too violent. I have a violence issue, so. But you can really do something to them, turn them green or purple. But the global north, global south thing is starting to come through, and SAQA is busy looking at level descriptors again. And I work there in that space with them. I'm on that reference group and writing group. just having a look at, are our current level descriptors fit for purpose? Now, you know, we've got 10 levels and 10 elements per level. And really, when I love what you said about the academic and when you read those level descriptors, no wonder we get it wrong more often than not, because they're complex. So we're also starting to put global north, global south. If we have a look here, while dichotomous terms such as global south, global north are contested, yes, in the academic space, everybody has a say, and even if it's one letter that somebody doesn't like, that will become a new theory, and that's good. That's research, reflexive, that's thinking, critical thinking, all of it. But education practice and research are intrinsically context bound. Context bound, global north, global south. So in your curriculum, remember a standard in the qualification that is registered. That learning outcome, exit level outcome, associated assessment criteria, those are the standards. The HIPs that CHE is busy with, that's the standard. That's registered. But you as the institution have to take that statement and color it in with your curriculum. And that is a great free space. It's giving a child a crayon box with colorful crayons. Color it in. When I did my English honours years ago at Tuckey's, Pretoria University, it was 2 years full-time. Well, full-time it was afternoons. And we had 5 courses. And I remember the one compulsory was Anglo-Saxon and medieval studies. And I could read Beowulf in Anglo-Saxon. I can't do it anymore. I've still got my books and with all my notes. So I suppose if I really want to do it, I can. But I could read Anglo-Saxon. And then my counterpart who was doing her honours in Rhodes, they only started at medieval studies and they did Chaucer. But we were both getting English honours degrees. Theirs was 1 year, ours was 2 years. We had 5 courses and our medieval study thing started. So now you're saying, is it the same thing? So yes, we all did medieval studies and understood, and we did this and we understood Chaucer and argued all of those things. But your curriculum, you colour it in and you add. And Tuckey's curriculum for English honours was deepened. It was different. And we had great fun reading Beowulf. So it's context bound, and these broad meta categories signal the complexity of context, have pragmatic and epistemic utility. So global north, global south have to be contextualized within your curriculum. And Foucault wrote about the power play for too long. We've really just believed, and I read a very interesting article about how much research gets published from Global South, how much research gets published from Global North. And by far, Global North, it's like 70 to 80% of all research papers, theories, publications, etc. Global North researchers and scholars. Global South, not much now. We've invited this, Mr. Chaka is his name, he'll be Dr. Chaka soon, to come and talk about the communiversity. Very different concept, Global South concept, that is going to be totally different. And I wondered to myself when I read that article, I wonder if this groundbreaking thinking around community education, a communiversity, thinking of the institutional types that the DHET is talking about, this would actually maybe, if they really read it, understood Global South, it might even change a lot of things that are in those criteria. So it's important there. Very important, though, that the clear connection between cultural differences and place, our context, our place. Also introduced, possibly for the first time, a recognition that universalized, or place-blind planning theory has its limitations. Because usually the people doing this planning are Global North, UNESCO, European Union, United Nations, the GIZ, the German Aid Agency, the American Aid Agency, all of those, the World Economic Forum, are driven by global North thinking. And we have to start, and I'm not asking you to become revolutionaries, but I'm asking you to think in your curriculum. So you start addressing that feeling within the student and yourselves. How does this work in South Africa? Our Government of National Unity has just given us 3 focus areas. And we need to start aligning our thinking. How do we do it? Where do we do it? Where do we introduce it? We can introduce it in our curriculum. What is Ubuntu? What is Tumamina? What is it? What does it mean? What is service? What is excellence? What is consultation? Global North, quick Zoom meeting, and now, people take great pride. They're so busy, this breathless busyness. Great pride. We don't even have time to sit in a meeting. That's, we stand so that the meetings are short, sharp, and punchy. And what did you achieve? What have you achieved? We've got climate change, we've got energy crisis, we've got global wars, we've got people hating each other all over the place. That's what we've achieved in standing and Zooming for 5 minutes. And then there's these catchphrases. No. What are we really about? What do we need to do in our curriculum to make people more, what is our place? What is our context? And we're only 30 years old in our democracy. How do we move our young people? How do we move business to take young people in as interns, candidacy students, so that with a full intention of appointing them, not just to get a BBE scorecard rating or to get money back from the taxman if you're doing learnerships, but with a heart intention to appoint those young people into positions and to start helping and dealing with unemployment or supporting young people to start their own businesses. Our place in our context, in our curricula, teach people how to manage their money. Teach people what community service means. Teach people differently. Add it into your curriculum. Look at the SACWA critical crossfield outcomes that were in there and put those into your curricula. Again, the nature of civil society and relationships to the land where you live and the place are very different in the African context. They are. And we always say only in South Africa, and we always talk about South Africans. That's part. And if you just reflect about it, we are a resilient people. We carry a lot of hurt, we carry a lot of harm, we carry a lot of things with us. But on a day, we can all be there, and we're shouting and screaming at the ref for the Bafana lost again. And we're shouting and screaming because the Proteas just didn't quite get enough runs to... we can unite around strange things, and we can unite around decisions that we make. And in our curriculums, as we review, as we look, I'm urging, not everything, but just start throwing a little view, a little eye, because this is where SAC was going with the level descriptors. And this comes from the world referencing system and the global referencing system, which is starting to recognize curricula are different. Qualifications frameworks across the world are different. How we balance this place, context, where you come from into your curriculum needs to be somewhere also embedded in the level descriptor statements. So one of the areas I'm saying that is very important as you look is that issue. Then again, and I've just taken these blocks so you could, and the presentation will be there. You can go and read them, and some of these I know are very old. When one of the universities where I supervise students, they want the references to be no older than 5 years. And a recent student, we had a major argument with the research office because we said, do you understand this is like new work? We have like really scanned everything, and we even got ChatGPT to help us look. And yes, half of what ChatGPT said was not correct, but it's new, this is a new thing, this is new work. So yes, but there are some seminal texts and publications, and the one dated back to 1955. I said, so if you can find a more modern version, please do. And I can get quite difficult on a day. I can get obstropherous because they'll tell you, oh, and a doctoral thesis must be 80,000 words. And that piqued my interest. So I went and looked everywhere I could, and I wrote back. I said, please direct me to the policy, to the section in the policy, the act, the regulation, the communication, where it says a doctoral thesis must be 80,000 words, not 75,000 as that particular student had. Well, they couldn't direct me. So I said, well, then why do you say it must be? Tell me why you're saying it must be. So I said to her, okay, let's try. And you know, in Afrikaans, there's a word. I used to teach English and Afrikaans. I had a language degree. English, Afrikaans, and German were my 3 majors. So I said to her, jy moet net nie gorrel nie. You know gorrel? When you just start padding. And she started gorreling. So her 5,000 extra words, it was like this. I said, what happened to your beautiful thesis? When I finally got it back, before I signed off, I said, So as I say, we've got to, coming back the story, Healy 1992, but I think the point I'm trying to make still counts. Healy refines the idea of universal citizenship further to acknowledge that communicating groups may operate within different systems of meaning. Very important statement. What is the system of meaning of Gen Z? And what is the system of meaning of the new and emerging Gen A, which those were born from 2010 onwards? That's Generation A. Very different, savvy, smart, different generation. One day, I'll tell you a story about, I had to speak at the beauty industry conference. And I did a lot of research about these Gen As. And the more I researched them, the more concerned I got about what they want in makeup and lipstick and colors, and they want. And one child walked into the shop and she wanted Hello Kitty, a color of lipstick that would match Hello Kitty, and she could. I mean, it was really amazing. But then you start thinking, what is the system of meaning in which they operate? Your students, but on the other side, and I stress this: what is the system of meaning that your current workforce, employees, lecturers, teaching staff, work in? We've got to start seeing that it's not only the youth, but above 35, there's useful life, let me tell you, in a lot of us over 35. And there's wisdom, institutional knowledge. What is that system? How do we speak to that? Why don't we do a nice short online course, socializing older people in digital technology? Short course. I would go on it. I'm terrified of when they ask me, they tell me they're going to, this engineering council, I'm helping them rewrite their RPL policy. And the gentleman, 2 professors, they're both engineers. And they said, but are you an engineer? I said, no, I'm not an engineer. So why are you part of the group? I said, well, I don't know. I'm one of 3 of you. I suppose Engineering Council. So the lady from Engineering Council said, we've got Dr. Lloyd here because she reads policies. And she understands how policy must be written. Well, that defines me. I read policies. So I said to them, yes, I read policies and I know how policies should be constructed. But then I thought, you know what? I don't have to actually build a bridge to be able to understand certain principles. So I went and I had a look. The next meeting I wrote and did all the things into that jolly Engineering Council policy. And what I discovered, there's a Washington Accord and a Dublin Accord. And I went further, and like you said, then something, this looks okay. And at the end of the day, when we had the next meeting, I was able to tell them everything about the Washington Accord and this accord and that, and why they actually shouldn't work in the South African context, because, you know, Southern theory, global theory, and we need to ensure that we're also including. So yes, it's this thing, systems of meaning. And I said, how many thousands of people are in the pipeline? They were disadvantaged. Apartheid years happened. They have been working for 20, 30 years. They know more about engineering than that youngster who sat and wrote a rote learning third year exam or whatever. Why don't we RPL them? I said, and that's the purpose of engineering councils, RPL. How do we bring them through and give them a piece of paper, a professional status? Because there's two, there's Gen Z, Gen A, but there's the older generation. The systems of meaning. What system of meaning do we function? What system of meaning do you function in? And then we see things differently because words, phrases, expressions, objects are interpreted differently according to our frame of reference. And that is very, very important, that we understand global north, global south. So, again, it's more than just geographical. The global south used here and by other southern theorists to mean far more. It also refers to, and these are uncomfortable words, uncomfortable sometimes, but we've got to tackle it. So how do we deal with it? In our curriculums. It references an entire history of colonialism, neo-imperialism, and differential economic and social change. And you can read the rest, but there's this whole new world that we need to reckon and understand and take pride in our place where we are and our context and our culture. So in your curriculum, again, the sociology of knowledge, post-colonial theory and what is rapidly coming to be known as Southern theory offer the opportunity for a very different sociology of knowledge to be developed. That's part of the message. And then the role of knowledge in social change is hugely important. Terms such as the information society, the knowledge industry, the knowledge economy, the knowledge worker, all of those. I don't like the term worker. I don't like the term human resource. We are people. We are people, and we are giving workplaces our energy, our thought, our heart, our everything, our context. We come. We're not just this thing that comes in there every day. We are an asset, and our assets are this holistic person that comes in. So again, that can change in the curriculum. That can change in your student situation, student support, lecturer support, etc. So all of those words have also been developed in sociology, though in this case with a more critical focus on the role of knowledge in social change. We are changing. The global south is becoming more prevalent, prominent. We need to engage with it in our curricula. We need to start slipping it in the thinking of students, critical thinking, etc. More critical focus on the role of knowledge in social change. And I was sitting next to a lady on the aeroplane flying back to Cape Town, and she was telling me, talking about Estonia and Norway, etc. And she was from Estonia, and she said, you know, the interesting thing is she went to church, and they were only 3 in the church, and the other 2 were very old, and she was the only one that was quite young, and she was very frightened they'd die, and she'd be the only person in the church in this little village. And she says, because, you know, in Estonia, we don't believe anything anymore. Very few people believe. It's either Lutheran or whatever. She said, and it struck me because I believe. So I cannot imagine going to a church, there are 3 people, 2 are just about so old that they can hardly walk anymore, and you might be the only one left in the church. And the knowledge in social change, we need to embed all of those things. What knowledge, what social changes, and critically think about them, critically examine, and let our students explore and examine a world where there is no belief system, as opposed to a world where there is and where there's hope. The Springbok team, that struck me, Rossi Erasmus's team. What he engendered was hope. Hope, that simple word hope, a hope for a better future, and a hope to win, and a hope, and the South African nation, the hope behind them. So imagine in this sort of knowledge economy, knowledge worker, etc., having no hope, no system. Transition to a knowledge-based society, the notion of knowledge, society, information, society, network, artificial intelligence, throw in all of those words, point to the changing role of knowledge in society and the transition from an industrial to a knowledge-based society. What does that mean? We can't teach anymore because they can learn anything they want. And sometimes, and we need to tell them, artificial intelligence and ChatGPT sometimes tells you lies because it doesn't work. And tell them that people who do lots of, get to know students very well and know the tone and the style of writing, etc., will very quickly see where their friend ChatGPT helped them write, because suddenly the difference in style and tone and grammar and spelling is remarkable. So you say, you started there and you ended there. That wasn't you. And it's like, how do you know? Well, I'm an old grey English teacher, and you know, I waded through many an essay and many a thing you get to know. So, this transition to a knowledge-based society, what you can't teach them stuff, but you can use the stuff in your curriculum, that you change it to finding information, critically examining, talking, discourse, looking at good, bad, and the indifferent and the ugly. All of those, put it into your curriculum. Working in a team, communicating, being able to understand the world as a set of related systems. What is a system? How does it work? Policy. What's the purpose of a policy? Etc., etc. So all of those things, how do you work with it, not learn it by rote? Learning theories comes into mind. A case study, and I won't read this for you, but there was a case study in this medical environment where they had a look at the global north, global south. And the lady writing is South African, qualified at Rhodes, but went and worked overseas. And I want to pick out one or two little words very quickly. These terms contextualize research, highlighting diversities and disparities, and this is talking global north, global south she was writing about, and trigger reflection regarding transferability. So in the global south, we need to also be cognizant of how do we transfer, the implications for curricular content and related competencies, in this case of health practitioners, the global north, global south discourse. Best evidence from the global north may not hold true in the global south, as some recommendations may simply be unfeasible to implement, and others contextually inappropriate and ineffective. So when we're designing our qualifications and designing for CHE, and we're busy doing that, and when we're designing our curricula, we must remember that we have a voice, we can say, and we need to be very alive to that contextual issue. Now I'm going to critique standardization based on, and yes, we do need, I fully support you need a basic golden standard in certain areas, quality assurance being one of them. I've dealt with too many fraudulent qualifications and people presenting fraudulent stuff in my work when I was still in the department and subsequent to that, to believe that you don't need a level of standardization or excellence or a golden standard or something. But there is a critique that the global accreditation movement for the modernization, standardization, internationalization, and globalization, and this was that medical case study, of medical education is a form of westernization and neocolonialism. They fail to take socio-cultural differences in healthcare and education practices into account. So just think in theology, medicine, language, family values, teaching teachers how to teach, etc. Thinking of how we would do it. Now, what are some of the themes that are emerging as we're looking at curricula, and what are the things we should be putting in there, and what are the things we're working with in the NQF level descriptor reference group, for example, and starting to look at what should be included in when we do the qualification design, etc. It's acknowledged it's too early to suggest a coherent southern or southern global position. But what are the words emerging that we need to now be putting in our thinking. And these link again to the Government of National Unity's 3 big core areas. The one is sustainability, climate change, urban and regional inequalities, ethnic and identity claims, migration. Very important themes. How do these impact into our curricula? What can we do differently? How can we take that thing we are teaching, and is there anywhere that climate change or urban and regional inequalities or sustainability comes in? Other words coming through very strongly, right from the world referencing systems through to the African Continental Qualifications Framework, ADIS Convention, SADC Qualifications Framework, all of those big documents right down to what we should do. People's rights, informality, resistance, environment, climate change, technology, and more. And very importantly, ethics and values have to start being embedded more and more in our curricula. The centrality of communicative and collaborative positions, that whole thing, relational agency, actor network theory as theories, but relational agency, and the huge importance of how do you solve problems at the end of the day, problem solving. Communication, collaboration, cooperation, understanding, trying to see in our different professional practices where we meet somewhere in the middle and what do we agree on. Very much, hopefully, that the Government of National Unity would continue along that. So ethics and values. Also, we should use these terms thoughtfully, democratic, balanced knowledge systems, being aware of the potential negative and false connotations that could be associated with them. And we must interrogate our unconscious bias and positionality in the knowledge power hierarchy. We've got to have a look at it. Long ago, the lecturer, teacher was revered because they held all the knowledge that most people couldn't read, they could only listen, the narrative style and the storytelling style. Today, it's very different. We also know there's democracy, emancipatory, words like that, balanced, bidirectionality, flowing knowledge systems, contextual appropriate, with contextually appropriate applications. So those are some of the areas. So all of that is that curricula now are framed by global, continental, regional, and national conventions and qualifications frameworks. And I've just put here the world reference levels. For example, in the world reference levels, you will see in what they promoting, and they work very much in the graduate profile. CHE is moving graduate profile away from starting point of learning outcomes, graduate profile, which if you're interested, you could go and look at the tuning methodology, Tuning, tuning methodology, started in Spain at a particular university, and they start with a graduate profile and they build up to exit level outcomes, learning outcomes, whereas our NQF starts at learning outcomes, exit level, and we build down and eventually graduate profile. But the world referencing system is a related important global context considerations which include the world referencing levels, which is a digital tool using AI to facilitate comparison of qualifications and skills and complementary to qualifications frameworks and technological advancements. And we're finding as the world is, the global stage is flatter and flatter, and people are moving, and there's the internationalization policy, and we are seeing refugees, asylum seekers, etc. What happens to them? So we need a system of translation between all of us, and digital tools. So in your curriculum, how do you weave in the artificial intelligence? And while you're teaching something, then have a look, how would AI impact on this? And what if we had to bring in ChatGPT or one of those other chatbots? How does that? So you start bringing those things into a curriculum, using AI, using artificial intelligence, ChatGPT kind of things. Qualifications frameworks and level descriptors are scaffolds for curricula, and I've said it. That the framework uses learning outcomes based level descriptors to describe learning at each level in the African qualifications framework and the others, regardless of where the learning was obtained. Again, level descriptor elements. Now, if you have a look, and while I'm doing this, I'm leading into the assessment component and using also artificial intelligence to map for articulation, for recognition of prior learning. And there's a whole world there that we're not looking at it today. But the African qualification level descriptors, we've got 10 levels, 10 elements. They've got 10 levels and 3 elements: knowledge, skills, and the third one, autonomy and responsibility. Those are meta. So SAQA is looking, do we need 10 elements, 10 elements per level?
You must maybe say okay. So that
Oh, where do I press?
Oh, because we can see clearly here.
Oh dear, sorry.
Yeah.
Please take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so while they're taking care of it, just a little bit of the importance of when you do get to finally make a comment on that document that will come, to have a look at the different number of elements that are in what we're saying the level descriptors. We having a look at it, and we realized the level descriptors were written in 2012 and published 2013. A lot has changed, and maybe there are other things that people need to do in learning. That's why they're changing. And at the meta level, knowledge, skills, and autonomy and responsibility. Is our IT person coming? Oh, there we go. So if we go further, there are also multilateral agreements enabling an environment for the recognition of qualifications between countries, which I've spoken about. Bilateral and mutual recognitions can be signed, all of these based on your descriptors, leading to a coherent system. The white paper that you know and the national PSET plan talks about a vision for an integrated, coherent post-school system. Curricula must enable that, and I'll tell you why. If you look at professional bodies, some professional bodies will not allow students from certain universities, public and private, generally privates get the worst deal of it, to actually then register in that professional designation. And this was one of the big debates I had with the Engineering Council. I was asked the question, so what happens with the private higher aids? Who quality assures them? So I said, they go through the same hoops and more that any public university goes through. What do you mean? No, are you sure? I said, well, let me tell you, they probably go through more stringent things, and they still have to register with a DHET and pay lots of money. I said, and the public ones are deemed to be registered and correct. I said, and they're so full of nonsense. So it's the coherence in the system. When you are teaching and when your students are learning and producing work, it must be of such a standard and your curriculum of such a nature that there's no doubt that your students can articulate somewhere and get professional designations, and that's a huge responsibility on all of us. So when we talk about the coherent system, we have to push for that coherence, and we have to make sure our curricula and our assessment and everything we do with the students and the staff are absolutely on point, so that there's no hold up for anybody. A while ago, the Law Society refused to accept UCT law students and UNISA. Said the quality is not good enough. So professional bodies are players. You can get them on side when you're developing curricula. Who are the stakeholders? How do they view it as well? So that is very, to make sure there's coherence. future proofing. So, in addition to global, continental, regional, and local contextual factors, changes are happening, and we've spoken about that. Personal socio-economic development of the nation at large. Curriculum must contribute to the full development, personal development of the learner, and the social and economic development of the nation. They must foster general academic, vocational, occupational, professional, and work-related learning and work pathways. Big mouthful. Not just academic. The world is moving to very strong mode 2, even mode 3, applied learning, participatory action research. What is happening? How do we implement? Because we have got brilliant policies. But the implementation of those and what's happening in the lives of South Africans is very, very, very sad, very worrying. I serve in the APED seat on the National Skills Authority, and we've got one of the big jobs which I said to my husband, it's the one time I'm really depressed, was we get these documents you got to read from the CETUS. So we go and we monitor and evaluate so that we can advise the minister. And it's very easy to say, oh, we achieved 100% in supporting that university or giving bursaries and all. But when you look at the people factor, so you planned for 900 young people to go through that program. How many got that program? And I see this big 0. And I have to ask, those questions seem to come my way that I need to ask that when we visit. And I get the sheet of red. The sheet of red means you planned 900, there were naught. You planned 450, there were naught. And when I see those noughts, and yet is 18.6 billion rand. You know, really, we talk billion, I think it's like 10 rand. 18.6 billion rand in the levy system. And across the CETUS, that only achieved 48% of what they planned to achieve is skills development of the nation. They'd rather take the money and fix so they no more put toilets, etc. So we need to become far more serious in our curriculum when we teach people, our students, what it really means in the real world out there, caring for your community, etc. I won't go through those. My time is up. Different types of academic, etc. contexts. Curricula should cover broad elements, and you know this: knowledge, application of knowledge, information management. These are quite new things coming in. Ethics have always been there, but drill down to now putting in Global South. Problem solving and critical thinking. Make sure that the curriculum is fit for purpose for that subject. Management of learning, technology, AI, and sustainability. So those are some of the very key areas that are coming through. We can't rely on Bloom's taxonomy only anymore. A review of classic taxonomies of learning and icons was carried out, and this work long ago. Bloom did work, yes, NSC, etc. All of these people. These reviews show that while these taxonomies were useful in offering evidence about the nature of certain kinds of progression in the acquisition of different kinds of knowledge, understanding, none of them would meet all the needs currently of the world reference levels. That's how quickly we have moved. So to rely only on Bloom's in your curriculum, or only on this or only on that, have a look across. Have a look at the world reference levels. Have a look at African qualifications, etc. Have a look at those things. What else should I be putting into the curriculum? Assessment must always be integrated, intentional. Why am I assessing? Not just because it's required of me. It must be planned, formative, and summative assessment. Can I tell you, and I know my time is up, one of the saddest things coming across, I serve on a lot of committees. As I say, because I'm a policy person. So they use me for my policy knowledge. But I'm 71 now. So as the committees end, I'm saying, I'm not available. I don't want to. Must pass the baton. The problem of passing the policy baton, nobody wants to do it because it's boring. I can tell you it's not boring.
I can tell you it's action becomes quite fun. But a sad thing that emerged in the QCTO committee, qualifications, assessment and certification. So I asked why of all the students only 4% passed in the insurance industry in the wealth management qualification. And I was told, oh, well, you see, they finished 3 years ago. But there wasn't yet an exam, an external integrated summative assessment ready for them to write. So we had to bring them back. And they'd forgotten the work. You don't say that to normal people like me. You can say it to fancy, clever people. Maybe they'll believe it. And I'm very normal. In my world, I've taken you through matric. Now you're going to write the matric exam. And there it is. On Thursday that day, you're going to sit down and you're going to write your literature paper. And it's all prepared and ready. Imagine this crop of matric starting on the 21st of October. Oh, sorry. We just don't have your matric exam papers ready for you. Come back. We'll let you know next year. Oh, sorry. You got so busy. He had no money. He ran out of money. Oh, no, it changed the policy. 3 years. Now that is criminal, immoral, undeeping, and should be stopped. So assessment is integrally part of teaching, learning, quality assurance. It's there. How do you accredit a provider to deliver a learning program if there's no assessment opportunity? It's wrong at every level. So yes, that's where the activism comes out. So to go back one there, intentional, planned. Assessment criteria, you know them, fair, valid, relevant, all of that. Learner mobility is central in assessment. We have to provide assessments that enable them to be mobile, support articulation, enable critical thinking. Micro-credentialing, people need to step in and out of learning. Why not? Not everybody's young and entering and going into university or college. Some people are older like me. And maybe they want to learn. Maybe life has happened differently for them and now they do have the opportunity. So, micro-credentialing, recognition of prior learned as a way. People work and learn, step in and out, hybrid forms. My daughter did her teaching degree through SANS and it was all online, even the assessments. Yes, they had the whole lot of processes in place. That they know it's you, your camera's on all the time and they've got linked into your IP address of your computer. I don't know what all they do, very fancy stuff. So that there's no way somebody else can write a paper for you. Hybrid ways and using AI, ChatGPT. So I just wanted to quickly show you how you can use the level descriptors to design assessments. Here is from the African qualification. The first one is the knowledge. Next column is skills, and the last column is that accountability, responsibility. So at a level 7, have a look at, and so you're setting your paper. So what do I want to assess? What do I want to know? What will satisfy me about this graduate? The graduate profile. At level 7 in knowledge, advanced analytical and or specialized knowledge of a discipline or area. And if we go back and you won't see this very well. This is level 1. Look at level 1 in the knowledge. A simple knowledge, literacy, numeracy. What does the SADC one say? Demonstrates basic general knowledge and numeracy and literacy for everyday purposes. Advanced level 7, that's where it says. Advanced specialized skills, advanced analytical specialized knowledge. So it does change. RPL, thank you.
To you. We don't even let us slides. Our aim is to make this more interactive and discussive section. So what we're going to start with is introducing ourselves to you a little bit and spend a couple of minutes saying who we are and our backgrounds. And then, it's an input from you. So most of you have met me. And so I'm Sue Greki and I'm a kid of the school education. And I spent most of the past 2 years in higher education working with courses and in different disciplines and different lecturers, we need really focus on student-centered regularity. And I've been very lucky to work at GitKat is a very creative and innovative, and I want to push the boundaries and created courses that center students' own lines, that center their knowledges and really draw on them in constructing curricula. And the master's and doctoral studies came out of these settings. So my PhD is at UWC and my master at UCT. And the focus of both of those really was student-centered methodologies and what we can do about how to do them, and their effect on students, what the outputs are standards. And a key outcome for me in terms of the area I was interested in pursuing was that there can be a social justice approach. So a student-centered methodology could be one that really teaches about social justice issues at very elementary ways, then also teaching in a socially just way so that students are a part of the teaching process. So when I came to Cornerstone a couple of years ago, what I was really do is really draw on these mixologies. But I've been working place to place in large classes, often not massive classes, so kind of 50 to 100 students. And I came here and I had big full classes. They were online students. They're based across the world. They're working all the time often. And I really struggled with how to make my curricula student-centered. How can I go around the students? How can I flip the classroom? So that's something I've really grappled with over the last years. And it's a conversation we had in the School of Education now. We can't make meetings, frequent halls. Some of my colleagues like RB also has very small classes, but others like Francis are huge classes. And even in the big classes get maybe under classes 300 or 400 students, I have 25 in the class, and then the rest claim to be watching recordings. So student-centered learning methodologies we have found very tricky in this context. So that's kind of what I was thinking about in thinking about this presentation. And I also realized it's really difficult out here because it's really busy and the market, it gets tired, hopefully. So I thought, well, instead of me saying and talking about some of the student-centered methodologies I used, it would be really useful as to share with each other of you used. And so the aim of this session is to be much more a sharing session and a dialogue session. First, I'm going to ask Francis and Arju to introduce themselves, and then we're going to go to have look questions. But thank you guys, Piani is coming. This.
Colleagues, I can actually say it more than the studies I feel. Yes, we need to soon ask Eddie to introduce myself. As a wow and wrong way, I came from afar. And yes, as Dr. Lloyd said, I'm a some teacher. I'll always remain to the teacher, although academic and lecturer. Yes, and I started way back with the foundation phase. That is actually my passion, the foundation phase. That was my first training at a college. Unfortunately, those colleges were excellent, but were closed. I don't know why, but yeah. And yes, we taught at a few primary schools, and then started actually studying. And my principal at one particular school was pushing me all the time, and I kept on telling me, so I can't teach. It was not standard 2. I can't teach it. He said, no, you have dignity. So he was able pushing me. And then one of our colleagues actually got his degree. And I was so fascinated. I said, wow, we have a degree. And the principal said that you should get one. You are the one. You don't need to have one. You should have more than one. And she did it, and I got my degree. And so what happened was
Now I've been teaching there from grade R right up to grade 7. Say hi now at Sunday. I got this letter. I put it in this way. I had to do the timetable for the school. I gave it to the principal and he said, I have very sad letter that I would show you. You need to take it. And then public application said, we'll start Monday. That this is Thursday. We'll start on Monday. That one of these 2 high schools will, that can't be. As a principal, no. And because of my degree, I had to go. And so with the Monday, I went there and I looked at all the teachers' medal. I can be unmarking to make it definitely not. And principal said, no, you should. So I was pushed into it. It's not. Previously, at this place where I was teaching, is at the high school. So we had to take in some of the high school learners and I was teaching them at the time. So it means that when he gave it to me, when I went into the high school, principal said to me, grade 10, no, don't give me that example. People have experience when I just say grade 10, grade 10 at 11. And that time I was doing my B.Ed, and then I came back from the B.Ed, and the B.Ed exam is actually I started to use. So the B.Ed exam was January. When I came back, principal said to me, the matric satellite teacher. I said, I can't do that. No. Yes. I teach English, and of course in the first English the first. He said, the can't you doing an experiment with me as is. Oh, it means book. And it worked. I actually love teaching the matrics because you could really do Shakespeare like a fort. There's so much that one can do. And then I thought the changes, what they're doing to education now, I can't in a package. And I left. But it's fun. I was working on my doctorate. I finished my doctorate then. Then the Department of Education called me and I worked at every single directorate. I started researching in Robert every single directorate. Last 5 years it was public service and I had to go to Parliament often. And there was an incident when I couldn't get in. It was actually, everything was organized. I couldn't get in because the policeman told a male, Dr. Francois Besser. I did give a little further. Sorry for the snap. But he thought I was a white mate. Maybe stopped him. Yeah. So I eventually a policewoman came and she said, what is this commotion? I said, I have to go in, I was present. And he said, no, she's not registered. There's not the lady said, what time is she? She says, fool, why did you a day? So I was late actually because of that. Yeah. And so I worked at the Department of Education, every single director, public service. And then I thought I had enough of education and I'm there. I was at home 3 months in BC gold pay. And yeah, for the CDA phase and then the foundation phase, and that is where I landed foundation phase. And really, I must say, education is a passion. Then I had a colleague there at UWC and she said, Cornerstone needs to be for the lecture. I said, yeah, Cornerstone. And then I sent in my CV, was called in for an interview. And while I'm still teaching me, that is a post, so I'm on my phone. It's something a little bit was the word. So, yeah, I am. And I must say, it is lobby. It is a passion for me teaching. This on Monday, a student called me. She said, when I go to work, I drive to work, then I listen to your recordings. And it is as if you are speaking to me. That passion, I can actually feel. I really want to be like you. Because doesn't go. So, yeah. These. So, I started at Cornerstone, I started at Cornerstone in January, only to teach English study, well, Litisa, maybe a literary small class of 4 students. But before that, I'd been teaching at Stellenbosch University for on and off 15 years. But it's always been small groups of 20 students, sometimes 40 kids. You do the same class twice. This year I got 80, but I'm basically teaching the same thing 4 times. And I know that out of that amount of students, you probably are going to have kids that talk to you, but you have the ones that take to you. And so when I started at Cornerstone, I only had 4 students in this little class, and I really, really struggled because they did told me. Sometimes they just didn't even book out. So I would start doing like the day before, is anyone attending class, or am I recording? Because I found suddenly that what I was doing in a live class, I couldn't do while I was just staring at myself on the street. So then I changed strategies and started being more into bullet points, more presentation style. But now I feel like it has changed from engagement to kind of just literary. And coming from English studies and literature, I'm really, really lean into immediate response with my classes, because I feel that's a whole point of literature. It's about, what is it bringing out of you? And I can't do that if I'm the person lecturing my students. So I've really, really, really missed the engagement. And we've had conversations about how do you now go about engaging students, because effectively Kenya students seem to learning if you don't have students present, right? And so this is where the conversation comes started, and you've been trying at the things, and it doesn't really help reading the articles. They all stay quite academic and formal, and these ideas that how does it work in real life? And so we thought it'd be really nice if we asked other people, what have they been doing? What do they find works? And just sharing the knowledge and expertise. Yeah, let's see. So that leads us to our first question from you. And there are only 2, but so this is the starting point. So we want you to talk to people sitting next to you and think about to talk about how you would define student-centered methodologies. What do they look like to you? Some examples. Not necessarily what you actually do in practice. We're just kind of starting with more definitional stuff. What does it mean? What does it look like? Maybe in an ideal world. So we'll give you just 5 minutes to do that, and then we'll have a quick share and move on.
Is randomly written down, so that's the way that you're going to hear it. So some of these ideas overlap, and they're not in any order. But we talked about inclusivity, which is extremely important, and to recognize that the person, the student, sitting in front of you, either in the class or in the virtual space, is a person with a life and a dream, and taking that into account. Also, looking at generational traits, because often our students are not from the same generation as we are. And when we use examples, are those examples that relate to the student's life or to your life and your generation's life? And to change your content, not change away from the curriculum, but maybe to add content on the go in terms of current events. Student support is paramount, and how do we do this in the online or hybrid space? How do we do this for adult learners? How do we do this for RPL students who are studying for the very first time? We also spoke a bit about the co-creation of the curriculum. What do they want to talk about? And not being threatened when a student questions the content or even you. In line with that, democratization of education, hearing all students' voices.
Thank you. Very good answer. Anyone else want to?
All of it myself.
You do have the star group there. You have our keynote speaker. Yeah, so what you were saying actually does connect quite a lot to what Dr. Lloyd was saying about, the Southern theories and drawing on students' own knowledges and contexts and understanding the different generations of students you have in your class and all those kinds of levels of knowledge that people bring and that you bring, your context, their contexts. Anyone else want to jump up? You're going to have another chance. So. Okay, so the second, so I've got a tiny bit of input. And it's, really tiny. So this is a more traditional approach. Students receive information from the teacher. A teacher decides on the topics and activities. A teacher decides how students learn and how students demonstrate that learning. Assessment is teacher-directed. Collaboration is teacher-directed. Students work towards a specific outcome, and teachers decide how students spend their time. So this is contrasted with a student-centered approach, but I think we all do quite a lot of that anyway, and we're kind of forced to, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but contrasted with a student-centered approach, which says that students are active participants in their learning. Students make decisions about what and how they will learn. Students reflect on learning and engage in self-assessment. Students organically engage with their peers, and so they have the opportunity to do that, the time and the space. A teacher becomes more guide or facilitator of the learning and the learning process. Teachers provide resources and feedback, and students manage their time. So some of that by being on the online space is, again, what we're forced to do, or is what we do, what we maybe believe in doing, so we do. Like students managing their time, we understand, I think most of us, that all of our students have many demands on their time, and we expect them to manage their time. But things like students making decisions about what they will learn, if you think about the implications of that, that's perhaps throwing the module outline out the window in the most extreme example. So what I've done here is just put these two side by side and put a continuum arrow at the top, because these are perhaps two extreme ends, and we do some of them, but how can we move towards doing more of the student-centered approach? To really engage students in learning, to get their participation, to make learning more fun, more interesting, more relevant for everyone concerned. So Francis is going to share an example with you of a self-directed learning approach.
Okay, so I said that I taught at UWC, and there it was the class. I could have all the students there, and I worked with them, and being a teacher, I would run around and we would do all the things, and that we would do work in groups and teaching the foundation phase. I would then have all sorts of props, learning, teaching support material as we call it, and we would work with it. But then on coming to Cornerstone, it was online. So I am teaching online students. And then I really had to think, okay, how am I going to do this now? Because now I can't run around, there's no face-to-face, not engaging with them and talking to them and sitting with them in groups and that, I couldn't do that. But yeah, I found ways in which to engage with them so that I could also get the students and that they can also share that passion, because we must bear in mind the students that I teach, they are on their way to become teachers, and there is a difference. If you are just a BA, not sorry, I didn't want to say, just if you are a BA student, then you study and the content that you learn, material you work with is for yourself. Yes, you are going to use it when you are employed somewhere, but when you are a teacher, there is a vast difference. The material that you learn, the content, you must now learn to transfer to a child. And the foundation phase child is the small. It is grade R, where we have play-based, and all those methodologies these students must learn, they must really become experts in the field, because those learners that they teach, I always tell them, don't call them students. I can't, now if I look at the essays that they write, I can't for the life of me see a 5-6 year old student. That is a learner, it's a child. So when I do these tutorials, I speak to them and I say, I mention the child. You must speak in the register of the child, must come down to the level of the child. And an approach that I think that I managed, is self-directed learning. Now, self-directed learning, I don't have to go into it. I think we all understand what it means. There was a lot of research that was done on it, but self-directed learning, the name says already what it is all about, the self, that the student must focus, must start thinking, reflecting, do reflexive thinking also. Teachers, they want to become teachers. A teacher is a reflective practitioner. So they must reflect and think, what am I going to do with this material that I have? So there's a lot of research on it, and some engaging pedagogies that we really, I also practice. And I told you when I started teaching way back, I was teaching in my way of doing, and later on when I started studying, I realized I was actually teaching inquiry-based. I used the inquiry-based approach, and that is what we should also instill in our students, that they should become, they must become responsible. They should have a responsibility and make that responsibility theirs. That they should realize it is not the lecturer. Yes, we facilitate, we give them the material, but it is their responsibility to think about themselves, do serious reflective thinking and critical thinking. Those are skills that we need to instill in them. And if they practice self-directed learning, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, creativity, these are the 21st century skills. All these skills that they must have. So while teaching them, they must also start realizing that if I want to teach a child, I cannot teach a child if I am not practicing it myself. So responsibility, it is my responsibility to do my assignment and to make sure that I submit it on due date. We have lots of people asking, can't they do it later, hand in later, and that type of thing. So I also tell them, when you're a teacher, you can't go to the principal's office and asking, can I please get an extension for the portfolio? It's not going to happen. So that responsibility should be part of the self, should be internalized, so that when I teach the little child, I can even transfer that responsibility to the child. If I tell him to go home and make words with sentences, it is his responsibility. He will come back and yes, then he will show me that I did the assignment, if we can call it in that way. And then students should take initiative, really initiative. A teacher should be creative, should be resourceful, must make sure that the student cannot only depend on us. It is online, yes, and I cannot be there. I get lots of questions and lots of answers. Then I always refer them. Look, if you just listen to the recording again, you will find the answer there. So it means you must take initiative. You must take it further. You must read as much as possible, so that when I see your assignment and I mark your assignment, I can see that you have taken initiative. And if you prepare a lesson, it must be the activities that you prepare there must be it must be exciting. It must be an exciting learning adventure for the child. Whatever you prepare there you must be able to practice it. It must happen in the learning space there. So you must learn to take initiative. Then resources. Resources, work on whatever you have. Build up your resources. Go around and learn as much. Read as far as possible. Read as wide as possible, that you can have as much resources and make your own. Whenever they have an assignment, they must give me examples. Now, I cannot be there, I can't see it, but if they send me the picture, then at least I can see, yes, they make use of various activities, and they have resources which they can use in their classrooms to make the lesson practical. Because we must teach, in foundation phase, we teach play-based teaching, right? And then the teaching and learning strategies. Now, what is it? Himstra and Brockett, they did intensive research on self-directed learning, and they came with this PPC, that is person, process, content. Person, the student. The student must become responsible, must internalize, work on the self. I must go and I must do it myself. I must find resources. I cannot only rely on the person. It is me, myself. Reflect on myself. But then also process. The process is the teaching and learning process. It happens, the facilitation, learning skills, my own learning skills, my own learning style. What style do I have? And also planning. Planning is so important. I must learn to plan. I cannot do anything if I do not plan. The teacher must plan. Then also evaluating my own abilities and technological skills. Living in the era of technology, they must have their own technology. They must work on their technological skills. And so the teaching and learning strategies, I must reflect on what I have and how I can internalize and how I can do it. And also evaluate my own learning outcomes. Mine, when an assignment comes in, I must look question and say, I think I worked very hard. You should have given me 5 more marks, and so on. That is what we hear. Look at the feedback and find out what has happened. Evaluate my own learning outcomes, because eventually, when you are a teacher, you are going to also look at the child and teach the child to look at what has happened, why can't I understand, what is the reason, and guide the child towards understanding. Okay, so teachers, lecturers, we are reflective practitioners, and I think it is important that we, and I don't say you should, but that is one of the real ways in which I engage with the students. I preach, I don't teach, I preach self-directed learning, that they can learn and they don't have to rely on me as the lecturer all the time, but that they learn to focus on themselves, because eventually, if I am a teacher, I cannot ask the principal all the time or my colleague. I must be resourceful. I must have my own ways, practice teaching strategies, experiment with ways in which I can approach and work with a child, work with the individual child, work with group works, and etc. So, yeah, then I just want to end. The best teachers are those who show you where to look, but do not tell you what to see. Yeah, something that I forgot when I introduced myself is another passion that I have is plays, writing plays. And while teaching, I always had a culture group, and they were always performing. And so I was thinking, when I was at UWC, I also had a group. I was thinking, how can I do this here? So what I'm going to do is write the plays and put them in books. And maybe in that way, I can also practice self-directed learning because they would be able to use it in the classroom. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Francis.
How much longer do we have, Martin?
Like 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes, okay. So we wanted a little bit longer for this next bit, but that's fine. And I put my notes down somewhere, but
Here's another.
Okay.
It's mine. You just don't know what's.
Yeah. Okay, so the second question is, so we've given you a few ideas of student-centered learning, and yeah, we've had a bit of a discussion around it already. Now what I want you to do with the people or person sitting next to you is think about a teaching strategy, a student-centered teaching strategy that worked and why. And I'm thinking particularly in the online space. For those of you who do teach face-to-face, obviously that's great, you can draw on it. But most of us, I think, are teaching in the online space and perhaps struggling with that. So teaching strategy that you tried and it failed, but also one that worked. And what did you do and why did it work? So in your efforts to use student-centered teaching methodologies, what worked and what hasn't worked and why? And is there something you can share with us? Because ultimately that would be great. So at the end of it, we've got another 10 minutes, if you can spend 5 or 6 minutes talking, and then we can have a few people come up and share some strategies that you've used. Thank you. Okay, everyone, are we kind of done? Finished with the conversations? Do you want 1 more minute? Okay, I think we're done. So what?
Yeah, colleagues, what we also discussed is that it came out of the self-directed learning is that if we ask students to work on discussion forum, that really works. Now for me, I have huge classes like 200 and 300, and if I do philosophy, then it is for the foundation phase and intermediate phase, and then I have like 500 students, and it is a lot of marking, but to let them discuss and work together, we let them work on discussion forum, and that actually works because then you can see how they can engage with one another and how they can give their opinions, and sometimes it is negative. Then I will say no, let us be constructive. So they really love to work on discussion forum. It is for marks, yes, but when it is philosophy, then I don't do that. Then after the tutorial, then I would put a few questions under lessons. They read there, then they go on to discussion forum, and then they actually discuss, and it is not for marks. So then we can see they really, but also if you work on discussion forum, you must do self-directed learning, because you can't just post anything there. You should have been reading, should have done research, and that PPC, the person, process, content, will work because yeah, you did research, and what you can put there, you can engage with one another, and it's actually lovely because it's online. You can't have them in a class, but you can see then how they talk to one another and how they give ideas and opinions and tell the person, I think you can do this also, and you can do that also, this worked for me. So it is really, that is a wonderful tool to use. What didn't work for me was the quiz, because the quiz, you have time, say for 2 hours. Now, the quiz is very technical. If I put in the answers, the options, and I just make it a mistake like a space, it throws out, and it didn't work. But you must leave it open for the entire day. I think my colleagues and they also worked on it. We did. I decided I don't know whether I'm still going to work on it, because what I discovered was if you go in for the assessment and it is 2 hours, you start 8 o'clock and you finish 10 o'clock, you can't continue. It just ends there. But now I know the answers and I have my friend. My friend starts 10 till 12 and perhaps I can give. And later on I discovered they are doing excellently here. So yeah, that is also something. It is a positive, negative. Okay, thank you.
Thanks everyone. If you've got any thoughts written down on paper, just drop it with me at the table and I will share them, collate and share. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, I know that we are running out of time, so let's little bit do the readjustment of times that we do agree as to where we are at. I'm not sure where Serelda is still. Oh, you are here. Okay. Now the next session is quite, for me, very important. Embracing what is it? Embracing. I do not have customized strategy, marketing strategy. So that's a very important section that I want the marketing team to take us along as to faculty and how really we can also be part and parcel of the marketing strategies of the institution. So that's that, and I know it's now 1 o'clock. Hopefully that will take us 30 minutes or like if possible less. Okay. So that's fine. So that's one part. So just want to sort out a little bit of time, and then we have one last session. That's now Serolta's session. Serolta's session is only 5 minutes. Oh no! So we are joyful. I don't need to stress about time. No. Thank you. Okay. So then let's then hand over to Sisibo, our marketing expert of director of marketing. I like that, and then she just share with us. Thank you very much. You will need to send up your.
No.
Oh.
Yes, please. Please open. Thank you. Alrighty. Hi guys. Good afternoon. My name is Zizipo, for those of you who don't know. I'm the marketing manager here at Cornerstone Institute. So I'm here to talk about customization in marketing. But then I thought you can't talk customization without looking at your data, without looking at insights, without basically reading information that comes in, that goes out, what we're getting from our students, external stakeholders, internal stakeholders, all that sort of stuff, in order for us to get to a point where we can say we're offering, or rather designing, customized campaigns that essentially attract the right kind of student in the Cornerstone context. Right, so I'm going to try to be super quick with it because I know you guys have been sitting for quite a while. So, in an increasingly competitive landscape, customization in marketing has become quite essential in terms of higher education institutions, because essentially we're all marketing to somebody who wants to develop themselves academically so that they're able to access particular kinds of opportunities. We do have certain elements that make us distinctively different from what mainstream may potentially be offering, and that is varied in terms of Cornerstone. For some, it is the size of our classrooms and what that means for interaction or quality of interaction. For others, it's the freedom of being able to engage in education online, which accommodates their everyday life, which accommodates them being able to be more independent and less interactive in terms of being in a physical or brick and mortar environment, right? But nonetheless, we're all in the same marketplace, having similar conversations, just with different language, if you will. And so by exploring consumer motivations and the stages of their journey,
From awareness to advocacy, we'll uncover how we can personalize our communications and marketing efforts. Ultimately, this approach not only enhances how students are engaged, but builds lasting relationships that empower them in their educational pursuits. Now let's take a step back and look at the data aspect of things. We as an institution have so many data points, whether it is the AAS, whether it is student-focused questionnaires funneled through student support, whether it is our CRM, so the customer relations tools that we use, and generally just looking at the types of queries that come in from students from a support perspective, or feedback from our social media, digital marketing, digital display, email campaigns, or even just behavior on the back end of our website and how people interact with it. All of this information is critical to how we design our communication. It's critical to how we customize, knowing what our students feel about their student experience, especially those who are current, helps us have a conversation that is valuable to the individual that we're trying to reach. 28% of our student applications in the last semester, not the one that we're currently in, second semester recruitment, came from current and past students. That speaks volumes about what a large sum of our current students feel about their actual student experience with us. But we don't do enough or a lot in the alumni and advocacy space. What do I mean by that? Who are our alumni? What are they doing? Where are they? Do they speak about us? We know that because 28% of them vouch for us without having been asked to do so. Bev is one, right? But we're not, as an institution, we don't leverage that. We don't leverage the free support, the advocacy that those individuals are giving us by creating spaces that, for example, enable them to access certain things. Now, I'm a student, so, and unfortunately, because I happen to be the marketing manager here, I also assess my student experience with the institution I'm studying with. And one of the immediate benefits of being in that environment is professional referrals because I'm a student there. What do we do for alumni in our institution? Where is that streamlined? How do we interact with them? How do we create spaces where they interact with us as an institution, with each other as alumni, and by virtue of having those platforms, access opportunities to do collaborative work externally, because that amplifies the quality of advocacy that they are able to offer us purely by incentivizing them, by creating a space where we acknowledge them, we create spaces for interaction, and that they know that they're valued. The same way they let us know through the applications tool on the AAS that 28% of what we get in as new students is because of them, right? So right there, there's a big opportunity for us to start looking at ways of being more intentional about how we create an alumni space that is of value, right? If we look at student motivations, I mean, we know this because we were once students or we're currently students, but we also know this about the individuals that are interested in studying with us. Their intrinsic motivations are personal growth, career advancement, lifelong learning. What does that mean in the context of customization? Does our marketing material talk to personal growth? Anyone? Does our marketing material talk to personal growth? Does it talk to career advancement? So do we tell people what they can do with our qualifications in the real world once they've acquired that academic accreditation? Do we talk about lifelong learning? What are the pathways to lifelong learning here? I think we do that. For example, if I start off in the psychology department with a higher certificate in counseling, I know that there's a pathway to a BA and then to an honors program, and hopefully very soon to a master's program. So yes, we do speak to these elements somewhat. There could definitely be a more intensified way that we do that. There could definitely be a more customized way that we do it, because I think we have a specific kind of audience, and we'll talk about this a bit later. And then the extrinsic ones are job market readiness, prestige of the institution. So brand salience, would you say that we are a preferred institution of choice? Like just putting your ear to the ground and listening to what externals, not people in our environment, but people who've experienced our environment, either students, partners, collaborators, versus whatever the case may be, what do they have to say about us as a brand? Because that's essentially our branding. It's not what we say we are, it's what people who interact with us say we are. Financial considerations, so return on investment on the education. We don't come cheap. We're not exclusively expensive, but there's definitely some financial thought that one needs to have before engaging opportunities for learning with us. And then customization impact. So tailor messaging that resonates with these motivations. Now, an example of this would have been an approach we took in the current recruitment cycle we are in. So we slightly moved away from selling what it is we do. People know what they can come to Cornerstone for. We decided, after looking at the data from the last 3 recruitment runs, and what people had to say in their applications forms about why they ended up applying with us. And we decided to talk to those things. There were feedback on us being affordable. There was feedback on flexibility. There was feedback on high-touch engagement, even though we exist in an online space. So it was quite interesting to hear from Susan's presentation that there isn't a lot of interaction with the students, because actually some of the feedback we got was, with my previous institution, you kind of watch recordings and you're responsible to navigate your way. But what I enjoy about Cornerstone is that there's live interaction. My lecture is on the other side. So there's that element of a high-touch environment. We spoke about the quality of educators we have, looking at things that off the cuff we might have not looked at in previous campaigns. And that's talking to the human and why they make the decisions they make, what drives them, what's important to them. It matters that I'm a mom and that if I need to study at night, that I can watch a recording. But if I've got time at 7 p.m. when the lesson is being facilitated, that I can also join the interaction. I've got this agency and autonomy because of what the environment offers. So talking about those things became essential, because now, as a customer, I've already done my research. I know what Cornerstone offers, but I want to know how they deliver it, and I want to know if that makes sense for me. And so we started looking at the copy slightly differently. Yes, we still tell you that we are accredited. Yes, we still tell you about the programs, but we focus more on the why, what you need, how we can fit that in there, and essentially do a lot more listening through the information that comes from our help desk queries, that comes from the applications formulas, that comes from the comments, because that's essentially what people are looking for us to address, not necessarily continually be selling ourselves instead of what it is that is beneficial to them by choosing us. Marketing process. So, and this is essentially it. So right from the minute Beverly interacts with a social media Facebook campaign where she sees a carousel ad on PGCE and decides to click on apply now, that is her awareness phase. That will take her to our website, which quite frankly is the only way that you're able to apply. So unlike your mainstream universities, there isn't a manual way to apply with us. So you're literally, for the first 50% of your interaction with our brand, doing it independently online until you're speaking to someone in recruitment, admissions, or otherwise, right? So there's our entire customer funnel is dependent on our digital positioning and what we've got out there that essentially drives a customer to our platform, not only to evaluate, but to consider and then start the applications process, right? And then get to a point where the person is advocating for being in our environment. Now we know, based on our stats, that from an advocacy perspective, we're not doing too badly. That means that the actual student experience is a good one for the most part, because those very students they're encouraged, they are inspired to tell people about who we are and what we offer, and essentially we end up getting almost 30% of our applications from those referrals. So from that perspective, we're not doing too badly. We're not. We are addressing the awareness, the evaluation, the consideration, the purchase, and the advocacy. What I think needs work is this particular area. So as departments, as people who work for the same institution, I think we're gunning for the same thing. We are exposed to different data sets, and sometimes those data sets don't leave our environment, our immediate environment. So looking at ways to better share the information, and this goes for us as marketing as well. It isn't good enough that you only get campaign stats when it's recruitment. It should be a daily act. It should be something that we do on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly basis, where we are sharing audience behavior, because by doing so, we open ourselves up to understanding more and more what our users want, how they want it, and the reality of this is that it changes on a daily basis. There is something new, there's somebody offering something similar with slight advancements, and every time we take slightly longer to look at this information, that is an opportunity cost that's come right out the window for us. So we've got the AAS, we've got our analytics on our back end, we've got dashboards on the multiple content platforms that we have, and we've got the help desk. And that one becomes primarily important because one of two things are happening there. I'm either upset about something as a student in the process of application, or as a current student not being able to access what I need to, or I really need to be empowered with information that helps me make a solidifying decision about us as an institution. So what should we be looking at? The trends of our resolution. What comes up mostly, what comes up consistently for us, and how we can better it. It's one thing to say it takes 21 days for grade reports. The conversation I really want to have is what technology, what support, what capacity do you need to turn 21 days into 7? Because if you can do that, you have a happier customer, right? So we're not necessarily utilizing the information to have more innovative resolution ideas. In addition to that, where we are not able to make changes to how we're currently doing things, then we need to be more accessible in terms of educating those people, right? So differentiating between when someone needs high-touch customer services and low-touch customer services. When do I need you to communicate with me on a daily basis for 3 days? Do I need a response from you every day when I'm looking for my grade report? Or am I okay with receiving it within 72 hours? Have you given me enough information that gives me comfort to not be, opening up duplicate tickets so that you address my need? Are you with me? Yes, we're gonna get colorful individuals who are going to do those kinds of things unnecessarily. But for the most part, ours is to look at the things that we can change and really push towards changing them, right? Because ultimately, these are the things that our students, our withdrawers, for example, sometimes you'll talk to pick up the phone and ask, why did you withdraw from your application? No, and the department that was assisting me took more than 4 days to get back to me. A situation that we could have avoided. Whether that looks like sending a reminder to say, hey, we're still attending to your query, we haven't forgotten about you, whatever that might look like. but it's things that we can avoid. Now, there's a knowing that we have an array of challenges, right? We're not going to meet every customer's needs. We're not everyone is always going to be happy. And to be honest, we're not going to burn everybody out because we're trying to be, super number one. But we can endeavor to make what we have better. And that's just by not receiving our stats when receiving, but ask questions. Ask questions when your help desk report comes through and you are out of SLA and you don't know what it means to be out of SLA, ask. How much time was I actually supposed to take with this? Because then we are being progressive. We might not be able to fix that situation, but we can avoid the next one. So the way in which we share information with one another, the way in which we interpret that information, and sometimes our belief in whether we have the right to question the information that's provided to us. Question it, please. The more you ask, the better, the more empowered we can become in terms of putting those things together so that we can have better campaigns, so that we can be more customized, so that we can be more customer-centric. And then developing personalization strategies. So segmenting our groups of students based on demographics, interests, and their behaviors. Customized emails based on engagement metrics, targeted ads reflecting individual needs and aspirations, dynamic content, use real-time data to adjust website content and offer based on user behavior. This is something we get right at Cornerstone. We do this. We do this. We do segment our audiences. We know that our customers look different. We know that we've got an incoming green student, fresh out of high school, who's made us a choice, who started to make us a choice, no matter how small that size is, but it's there. We've got more established individuals who need routine, structure, functionality, and almost high-touch customer services because time is everything in their environment, and we try to tailor those things. Can we do it better? Yes, with the more integrated customer relations management tools we can. What have we achieved in terms of that environment? Being able to centralize or having a single view of our queries. So your social medias, your WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, now comes into the help desk as well. So you have 360-degree view of all our queries. You might not have that in terms of all of our student data, current and prospective, but from just a customer and queries perspective, we do have a 360 view of our customer. And then storytelling in our marketing. This is something that, with the help of your departments, we've been able to start doing. And a simple example of that is our alumni series stories. Now, if you look at organic growth on our platforms, our LinkedIn is the only single platform we do not have to push any paid advertising on yet, grows at about a rate of 110% month on month. Because of the types of content we do on there. Thought leadership, sharing student stories, we could not be able to access those students without the assistance of the departments and student development. So Bev, thank you. And the guys of education, you guys do a stunning job at giving us access to those kinds of people that are able to share their stories. If you are to look at the analytics of just the back-end engagement on those particular stories, it's massive, it makes a big impact. And it drives traffic to our platform without us having to pay a single cent. So in terms of storytelling, this is something that I think we're doing well, but I think we need to do more of. The more stories there are, the better. People believe in seeing. It's not enough that we tell them we're the best in the business when it comes to what it is we offer. But when they start to see faces and stories that they can resonate with that are not curated necessarily by us, but that are honest experiences and encounters by the people who've been through our programs, that lands and hits differently. And then digital habit analysis. So we are able to see where our customers interact with us. And that tells us a lot about the apps, the platforms they use. Our website contact form is an example of this, as well as the help desk actually. Dependent on where the highest traffic of queries are coming from, or rather which channel, we can almost start fleshing out where we need to have consistent campaigns and communication going out. Right, so the query analysis, identifying the platforms and channels where most of our queries originate, engagement preferences. So the tick box on the website query form, would you like us to WhatsApp, email, or call you, tells me everything about the platform you utilize on a daily basis. Or it can tell me how you prioritize each platform. For example, somebody who might want to call for a program inquiry is a high-touch individual. That person wants to know that it's not a bot on the other side of the call, that it's an actual person who can engage with them, who can empathize, and who can somewhat assure them that they will get the support that they need. But somebody who's happy to speak to me on WhatsApp is a little more free in terms of the interaction, and they are driven by ease of access. They want to know that they can get all the information they need on the go, on their handset, without any fuss. Social media platforms they like to use, email versus SMS communication, real-time interactions. So who wants to book a meeting? We don't have a lot of those. Our people like things digital. Drive, and because that bottom piece, the understanding digital habits, enables us to drive meaningful campaigns. So omni-channel strategies to create a seamless experience across multiple platforms. What does that really mean? It just means that it doesn't matter whether you're accessing us from Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, email, that your customer experience is the same, that you are able to access the same things, whether it's a fee structure or talking to an admissions officer or getting support for your grades, that irrespective of the channel you may choose to utilize, that the outcome is as seamless as one or the other, right? So we do that from a queries perspective. We're not all the way there just yet in terms of centralizing all our data sources, but when we do get there, because we will, then we would have achieved omni-channel marketing inputs for the betterment of our customer experience. And then engagement techniques, interactive webinars, Q's and A's. We have a bit of this going on with the help of the academic side. Personalized follow-ups based on our user interactions. This is something that has needed development. An example of this would be the lead generation campaigns that we run. If you interact with a campaign on Google Marianne, chances are 7 hours from now, you're thinking about what needs to be done for the academic side or faculty, what you're going to cook, and what your son needs to get signed off for schoolwork. You don't even remember that you had filled in a form. But as a department, because of capacity, we'll only get back to Marianne 7 days from now. 7 days from now, she's interacted with SECAB, UCT, everybody else under the sun, and has made a different decision, right? So we as a department are doing a lot of work in terms of turning 7 days into 24 hours. So now, within the recruitment team, there are dedicated individuals who have to pick up the phone 24 hours from the time an inquiry comes in, irrespective of where the lead may have come from. It could come from a meta campaign, Google, whatever the case may be. If it's a new lead, we want to get to it within 24 hours, because at least that person has recognition of interacting with a piece of information from us. And then feedback loops. Regularly gather and analyze student feedback and refine strategies. Through the incredible internship programs we have, we've got access to more resources in terms of hands. So some of the things that our interns are currently busy with now is daily analysis on our analytics, so looking at our page visits. This becomes important for multiple reasons. From a marketing perspective, I want to see how much time someone is spending on psychology's page versus business versus education versus the next one. There is an average amount of time that an individual who's going to make a massive financial commitment as for their development that they need to spend on a particular page. It cannot possibly take me 30 seconds to decide whether I'm I'm registering for PGC or I'm applying. I have to be there for at least a minute and a half to go upwards. So we've been working very hard at centralizing each department's portals so that users don't have to go to different places on the website itself, that they can stay on a single page and interact with a department's complete offering and click on an apply now button while they're there. Because then what that means is that I've given you all the information that you need. Now all that's left to do is for you to start the process. So it's working. It's only been 3 weeks, but we've upped the page view time by at least 24 seconds, which is a win. Okay, it's a win. It means people are spending a lot more time with us when they do visit us. Our platform mobility is not that great. So IT and I still butt heads about it, but it's definitely in a better place than what it used to be. And I guess it's a work in progress, especially with the introduction of new pages and redirecting traffic that way. But the other reason it becomes really important is for spend, where we are spending advertising money on external platforms. An example of this would be, we're currently running a programmatic ad display campaign with Independent Online, which is a news content platform, on their news and education verticals. There has been 2,000 plus clicks. Impressions are scratching on the surface of 1 million. But what matters to me is what actually lands on our website. So we go and look at the manual traffic data to see what actually comes through to our platform, because that then validates the spend in terms of those campaigns. And if there's something that is amiss there, then we investigate whether it's technical issues on our platform or if our suppliers are number fixing, because these kinds of things happen too. It's working. We're seeing the conversion rate of the campaigns that are administered externally versus the ones that we administer ourselves. And so key takeaways, I guess we're at the end, is customization is essential for meeting the dynamic needs of students. Leveraging data enhances our personalization in our marketing, and understanding consumer motivation leads to effective communication and engagement. It doesn't happen without open lines of communications, breaking down data silos and being more collaborative in spaces, especially when it comes to information sharing amongst departments. You sometimes are privy to information that can really serve as a springboard for the campaigns we facilitate, for how we communicate. And so I think we've definitely moved a couple of milestones from where we were 2 years ago. And I hope that we can grow from strength to strength in terms of being collaborative with all of you in order for us to essentially fill those bums on seats. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think we are coming to the end, and thank you for you who have prevailed with us. Just a quickie, if you want to maybe ask a question for clarification while we're Zizibo, I really want to give you that opportunity, because she has said a lot, and maybe there is something that you would like to ask. Please, let's give you that opportunity quickly. Oh, we are all happy with what was said.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I've been on LinkedIn on the Cornerstone's page, and I didn't see anything, or maybe I'm not looking in the right place, for applications. Apply now, we are open for applications. I didn't see anything like that. Is that just that I don't know where it is, or I've not been, it's such a crucial thing, the 16th of September. Applications are now open.
No, she doesn't. There is a post there, and there is a banner that says
A post?
A post about applications being open. It was posted on the 16th, and there is a banner on the website that says Dr.
No, not the website.
On LinkedIn, sorry, yes, there is a banner.
So on all our social media platforms, when you click on the Cornerstone page, which you see, it's a drop-back banner, cover banner. It has applications that are open, and there are organic posts with regards to applications. So if you go through the post content on LinkedIn, every single day from the 16th, all the content you see is related to applications. They're just talking about different things, whether it be how to apply, where to go to get assistance if you're stuck, those sorts of stuff on a daily basis. And that applications
I
are now
went
open.
through that, sorry. That's what I'm asking about. I
should
didn't
be.
see it. I used to
also
see
don't see it.
Yeah. Sorry,
That's
just
interesting.
mentioning it. I will look again.
We thought it was strange because we usually see such a lot of stuff from Cornerstone.
No, it should be.
Are you referring to this banner?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a banner over here. If you go into
No, sorry, we're not talking about the
posts.
banner.
Oh,
People are not going to go to our page. They're going to see things coming. I've not been
there
seeing
should be.
things, so I went to the page. But maybe I didn't look right.
No, there should be. I implore you to go and look, and I'll share with you our else in our group. They definitely should be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was important to clarify. Okay, now I think for the last session, as you have heard, Serolta said it's not a long something, so we will just give her to say her say, and then we just close down with thank yous. So please, let's hang on a bit.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to, I really think, be very quick. And the reason why this is going to be a short one is because I see a lot of the faces here today were at Faculty Day. And we went through the lecturer's toolkit then. So it's probably not necessary to go through everything. However, those of you who are in the dark about the toolkit, or you've seen a little bit but you want more information, I'm going to just do a quick overview. Maybe they can hear me.
It's better if you want to hold it. Maybe better because this that
Okay.
one.
But is it now on? Oh.
Just off. You try now?
Okay. All right. So for those who haven't heard of it, or you've heard and you're not sure what it is, the Lecturer's Toolkit really is an onboarding program aimed at lecturers, at faculty. And it was birthed out of actually personally coming to Cornerstone as a new employee. And I remember being very lost. Where's this? Where do I find that? How do I do this? How do I do that? And over time, I heard lecturers, I don't want to say complain, but say the same thing. I don't know where this is. I don't know how to do that. So this program was born out of a need that I identified specifically with regards to lecturers, that you need everything in one place. So it really was designed to make your lives easier. I don't know why there seems to be a bit of a mental block against the tool. It was launched and emailed to everyone, I'm sure everyone. Mareka is here to confirm that, almost a month ago. And we asked you, please give feedback, because the toolkit is based around your needs. And if it currently doesn't address your needs, you must give us feedback so that we can enhance it. So let me then just quickly explain. So really the idea was to make it one place where you as a lecturer, who you are a content owner, you are a subject matter expert, you are basically developing the products that we sell. So you need to know from start to finish, what are the do's and don'ts? Whether it be governing bodies like the CHE or it's our policies at Cornerstone Institute. Whether it's basics like what tools must you use, where are the templates, where are the guidelines, who can help you with what. All of this is located in one place, and that's what we've now called the Lecturer's Toolkit. It has been long in coming because the first version was tested and piloted with some lecturers, and the feedback I got led to it being completely redeveloped, redesigned. So the final version really looks as simple as that. It takes every Funda page and it says, overview, what might be a question you have with regards to your overview? So I try and preempt, if I'm a lecturer, what would I want to know? So module outline, what do I know? What do I want to know with regards to module outline, lessons, working Kaluma, my resources, assignments. So it is actually very logically structured to try and preempt that you would want to know every component that your course consists of. What are the guidelines, rules, templates, and assistance with regards to that component? So this is what it looks like. If you open the Lecturer's Toolkit, this is how you would start figuring out what do I want to know and how can this toolkit help me, as you will go and see which question do you have. And as you see, it will match the menu bar in Funda. So again, we're trying to make it as user-friendly and as logical as possible. So then, this is what the menu looks like when you land in the toolkit. So you say to yourself, okay, I'm currently struggling with lessons. So you would click on lessons, and then you would, okay. So if you click on lessons, then what happens is you go to a page that shows you everything step by step on how to do lessons. Now, is Joshua here? Because I knew. Let's see. Is this? No, it's not showing. Okay. Basically what happens is those are the different clickable items. You click on it and you will get everything from how do you design lessons to start with? How do you know your content is aligned with accreditation? Is it correctly developed to begin with? Is it on the right templates? Are you using the right designs? Are you uploading it to Funda correctly? That's your Funda page. That lessons page, is it designed and formatted correctly? So you would take whatever aspect of Funda or of your content you are struggling with or you need guidance with, and you would click on that and you would go and we break it down in very bite-sized information, guidelines, as well as even simulations. So there's even a simulation for you to go and say, I still don't know how to do a Kaluma presentation. You click on Kaluma, we give you some guidance, instructions, if there's rules or regulations regarding that, we tell you about that, and then we have a simulation for you. You click on that and you go and watch it. So really, I want to encourage you, if you have any sort of an idea, what is this cumbersome, complex tool? How's it going to add value to my life? It is actually what Ilana spoke of earlier. It is a quality assurance tool. And that is becoming more and more important at Cornerstone, as we really need to make sure we deliver quality content. So this is a tool to show you how to do that and to make sure you are aligned with what content must look like at Cornerstone on Funda, which is currently our LMS. So all those guidelines, including tools, if you say, I actually just want to go and find templates, I know everything else, I just want to go and find my templates for a module outline, for a lesson plan, or whatever it may be. Then you click on that, and then it takes you to the templates. There you select which one you want, you click on it, and it opens up and it downloads. Maybe you want to go through a specific funder function. You do not know how to build tests and quizzes. Then you click there and it takes you to the suite of courses. You click on the course that you're struggling with and it gives you a simulation. So really, in a nutshell, that's what the toolkit is. And the reason we would really like your input is because I think it's logical, but you are the people in the field, so you can come back and say, but you haven't included this, and this is what we struggle with. We are still trying to figure out how to draft assessments. You have not covered that comprehensively in the toolkit. So we really encourage you, if you didn't receive an email with a link, please speak to me. But everyone was sent a link. Go and look at it and just go through it quickly. I think Ilana said it took her about 3 to 4 hours. It's long, but I mean, then she looked at every simulation. Simulations are long. She went through absolutely every aspect of every page. For you, go and test drive it. Go and say, where are you currently struggling a little bit? Go and test it. And please give us feedback, because this is supposed to make your lives easier. And it is to ensure quality at Cornerstone. So it is a quality assurance tool to help you. And apparently I can say that they are going to include it as a KPI. So lecturers are going to be measured. Did you do the onboarding? Did you go through the lecturer's toolkit? Because almost every question that lecturers have is answered in that toolkit. And so your HODs can get a bit of a break and they can get on with their work rather than having to feel constantly the lost lecturer. And I mean, all of us at some stage have been lost in our jobs. So this tool is going to help you. Please go look at it. Tell us if it's not helping you. Tell us where it's not helping you, how we can make it better. And I'm going to stop there. There is a demonstration of how it works and how to navigate it, but I really think it's very user-friendly. So go and test drive it and please give us feedback. It would help us, and especially department heads, your new employees, your new lecturers are going to benefit from this as well as you. If you've got a tool to tell them, go through this, it should help them. And if it doesn't, you must tell us why. So I think I'm going to stop there, Martin. As I say, this is old news, but for those who haven't looked at it, please go and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabuta. Okay, thank you. Colleagues, let me just make a few announcements and then we close down. The first one is, as I said, the shared values that we have done, those papers. Kindly, please don't forget. I hope you have fine-tuned a little bit. Give it to me, those booklets that I can collect the stuff for us. Also, the same to what was said by Sue about their remarks that you have made. Kindly also give those to Sue hereafter. You will see there is still a little bit of tea and coffee for those who want to have the last cup before we go. Finally, I sent out a short survey. I try now to do it, and I hope it has reached you, the faculty at least, because I couldn't get all the numbers. It's very simple. Please click on it and we fill it in. Yeah, so finally, I just want to thank all the presenters. I am grateful for the efforts that you have put in. It's very clear that you have prepared yourself well, that it took time so that you could just invest in us. So we say thank you so much for your willingness to burn the candle late night to get us fed so well. Also to the technical team and the brothers who have helped us that we could really do things, marketing and the technical team, we want to thank you also for all the efforts that you have put in. This conference, without your presence, would not have been possible. So you being here, it's also, we do thank you for that. After all, as I have said, it's our conference, so we must own it. And for next year also, you have to say, let's do this or let's do that. You who are in classes, you know, very good people out there. Say, can invite this person for the conference like that. Let's enrich it in many ways. So let's work together towards that. And I also want to thank Jyoti and also people like Marika and the team who really sent out information as well as have prepared for us the day that as it was. So thank you so much. So with these few words, I do not have much to say. I just want us to enjoy ourselves. As you know, we are in the new dispensation. So I do not even want to say go home. Maybe I will be in trouble. So I must just say that the conference has ended. Thank you.